Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Don't believe in magic. It has been a while. I appreciate the 5-month resubscription though. Glad to see you stopping by. Hope you're doing well, and good to see you as well, Alto. Hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. It's been a while, I think, since I've done one of these tarot streams. Oh, good afternoon, Eggy. A reading for your trip to Japan, of course, of course. It's been a while since I've done one of these tarot streams. I think the last tarot-related stream I had was actually the cartomancy stream with Zia, like back before we left for Anime North, I think. Because when I was setting up my scenes today, I realized that this scene was not prepared for tarot reading. It was prepared for a collab, so I was like, oh wow. And that was like on the 10th of July. I think the last time we actually did a tarot reading stream was 2 months ago, actually. I think the 20th of June was the last time I actually did fortune telling. I feel like I should probably do this more often. Like tarot things once a month, I guess is probably better for someone who calls himself a tarot reader, a fortune reader. Alright, and Alto, you would like to have a reading on how your job is gonna go, of course. So job hunting and how it triple go. So nice, Eggy, and Alto, Walker. And let me get your guys' is there so we know who's getting read. It's actually like super convenient for me when I like go back in VODs and want to figure like what did I say to someone on a certain day? Like how did I read their fortune on this tarot stream? And while I do have the list up, having the icon in the corner has actually been like really helpful for being able to go back in VODs and see like did I lead them in the wrong direction? So let me just open this up. Let me just save this in place. Is one. There we go. And let's just push this. There we go. There is Eggy. Alright, so we're going to do a long reading here. We're going to do a thing. So how Eggy's trip to Japan is going to go. Let's see. We'll shuffle this up a little bit more. I've been shuffling this like while sitting in the loading screen, but now that we have the question in mind, we'll see what the cards have to say. It's always nice to go back to this. I think eventually, once I feel more confident practicing with the playing cards, I think I'm going to add also cartomancy readings as a redeem. I don't think I'm ready for that just yet. I remember I was in a call recently with Zia, and she like quizzed me randomly on the meaning of a card, and I was like, I'm not ready. I can't do this off the cuff. So I think it's going to be a little bit more practice for me to put playing cards as fortune reading redeems as well. But we'll get there. I'm gonna do my studies to get a little bit more familiar with those cards. So let me shuffle these. And let's get into how Eggy's trip to Japan will go. It's gonna be a very long trip, very big trip for her. I think it's for her studies. So hopefully the cards have something nice to say. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 10. I feel like I have less space on my desk. Let me just push my audio interface back a little bit. I feel like I normally have room to do a 10-card reading. Sometimes things get moved around on my desk, and the reading space is a little bit more jammed. Alright, so for Eggy's trip to Japan, take a look at the cards. So, what we have to start this reading. Alright. This should be the Six of Pentacles in reverse. So, the Six of Pentacles in reverse is representing our question here, and the Six of Pentacles typically is a card that represents generosity, it represents giving, but in reverse, it's sort of the opposite, right? It's sort of, this is like an act of reception, it's an act of taking, it's an act of sort of like taking or giving away what you have in a way that is, it's taking away from what you have. Like, normally this card represents like generosity, giving what you have, but this represents that it's going to take a lot out of you, I think. So I think the question in mind here, this idea, this trip to Japan, is something that you have apprehensions about, something that you feel like you might not be fully ready for, fully prepared for. You might be worried about sort of like the energy that it's going to take from you. It's sort of just what it's going to require to sort of exist in Japan. And it's being crossed by the Three of Pentacles as well, also in reverse. So that's sort of where we're starting here. Let me just make sure I have this here. So the Three of Pentacles, let me transform this and then clockwise. And the Three of Pentacles in reverse. So the Three of Pentacles is a card that represents, learning, education, mentorship. So I think how this trip to Japan is sort of shaping up, or sort of what you feel going to this trip, is that the Three of Pentacles, like I said, represents, learning, mentorship, and education. And seeing it in reverse sort of gives me this idea that you might be worried about your studies, or you might be worried about learning. You think it might be a struggle, something like that. And seeing that in regards to the Six of Pentacles, seeing that it's crossing that, sort of is this idea that you might be worried that your studies are what's going to make this trip as hard as it is. It's that you have this fear that you're going to have to give a lot more than you're usually prepared to give, and that's in relation to your studies. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of just like a normal fear, just especially since I know that you said that this is a study abroad program. I think it's just sort of that, the normal apprehensions that go with flying away to another place to do that learning. So, this typical fears and apprehensions are there, and it's not really unexpected or out of the ordinary. So what grounds you now? What keeps you grounded? Where are you? The Page of Pentacles. Flip that boy upside down. Let's put him in the right place. So the Page of Pentacles in reverse is sort of what grounds you. It's sort of the things that are at your feet. It's like sort of like what you're thinking about in the current here and now. It's sort of just like thinking about like reality, thinking about things are. And the Page of Pentacles is a card that represents, a messenger of, well, a more passive sort of action, as opposed to, say, the Knights, which are more active. And what grounds you, I guess, is the idea, it's Pentacles typically love life reading, of course, Cab. The Page of Pentacles in reverse is usually a reading of, like, a messenger of wealth, which I guess in some ways, again, knowing that this is your trip is related to education, it might be that fear that, just college in general costs a lot of money. Could be an expensive venture. And just, being in a foreign place, being all on your own, sort of feels that, that sort of stability that you have materialistically might not feel as secure, because, that's just how things are going abroad. Even if you're gonna be living there, it's just, you are kind of on your own there. You might have like a dorm to live in or stuff, but I think there is a fear of like materialistic value or wealth that sort of is something that is in the back of your head, something that, not the back of your head, like sort of something that you've been thinking about. What we have in the past in regards to your trip is the Four of Pentacles, also in reverse. A lot of turbulence here, a lot of things in reverse here. So this in 90 degrees counterclockwise. The Four of Pentacles in reverse. And the Four of Pentacles is typically a card that represents holding on to things that you have. Very similar to the Six of Pentacles, how the Six of Pentacles represents, giving. The Four of Pentacles is more holding closely to what you have. But again, this is in reverse. So in the past, what it could mean is that you were less holding on to materialistic things, less onto your possessions, onto your wealth, that you felt either that you didn't need to hold on as tightly, or that you were in situations where you sort of had to give up things that you had in order to sort of move forward, right? That there's a lot of pentacles, actually. This is 4 pentacles already in the reading, which typically usually highlights a concern or a thought in your head about this trip may or may not be related to material values or like money. But the Four of Pentacles here usually represents holding on to things, and in reverse means that in the past you might not have clung as tightly to those possessions, whether because you felt like you didn't have to or because, you know, out of necessity. What crowns you, what is sort of, you know, the things that you're thinking about, not necessarily consciously but more subconsciously, is this card is not preceded with the. It's, where are you? Temperance. So, sort of subconsciously, what you're thinking about, what you're aware of, is this fact that, you know, a lot of things just have to be held in moderation, right? And especially when you're on a trip, it's just, you have to keep things in balance, and it seems like, you know, you have that thought in your head, you're aware of this, you know, to just keep a balanced perspective, you know, not to go too crazy, but also to not hold yourself back, you know? And I think that sort of lies alongside these other ideas here, you know? There's this fear of, you know, losing what you have or having to give up what you have. But you know that, obviously, when you're on a trip somewhere that you're not from, or you're on a trip to somewhere that you haven't been to, there is that idea of wanting to sort of, like, balance things out. You're gonna obviously have to save money, but at the same time, it's not wrong to sort of indulge yourself or to, you know, in moderation, treat yourself when you can. So many tentacles, yeah. Like I said, it usually connects that to the idea that there is a certain concern here, and that concern typically is things that are more materialistic or more monetary in thought and concept. And the future we have here is Two of Wands, right side up. So what this means, what this represents, is that in the future, as you get closer and closer to your trip, I assume, or as your trip goes on, there's going to be this looming sense of waiting. Also, this is not right. Side down. So typically the Two of Wands is a card that represents waiting, represents, you know, expectations of something to come. And seeing that in the reverse position, seeing the Two of Wands in the future in the reverse position, sort of means that either that arrival will have come to you, or that there might be a delay in what you're expecting to come, in what you're expecting to arrive to you. So again, what we can see here, let's outline this. We can see that there's a lot of worry here, a lot of uncertainty when it comes to your finances. But there's this just understanding that, you know, things are going to be hard, but in order to make the most of what it is, you will have to sort of do things in moderation. You know, you have to enjoy yourself too, while also, you know, being a little bit more reserved when you have to, you know. It's just the idea of, you know, sometimes you can go sometimes you can go ape shit, but sometimes, you know, you have to take it easy. And that's just, you know, that's just life. That's just all things in moderation, even moderation, as they say. Then we have here the past, present, future, you know, letting go of what you have, or not holding on tightly as what you have in the past, leading to, you know, sort of having to give away things that you may not be ready to give up. Maybe that might be like time, or that might be just like the energy that you have to do your studies. As we can see, the influence here is pertaining very academically, very, like, in the sense of learning from others and studying and all that kind of stuff. And then there's this idea of impatience here, of waiting and just expectations that may or may not be arriving when you expect them to. So I think just keeping patient and also just keeping a cool head as you are here, you know, not worrying too hard about what it is. To enjoy yourself in the moment as you are in Japan is essentially what I'm getting here. Or is essentially what it's warning for you to do, to, like, make the best of it. Not to worry too hard, but at the same time also being calculated with how you spend your money and time. What we have here now, the internal, how you feel right now. That is a playing card. You have a Four of Wands here. The Four of Wands, that is tiny. Four of Wands in reverse. So the Four of Wands in reverse again. The Four of Wands is a card that represents celebrations. It's a card that represents, you know, being able to be with others, being happy with others. And seeing this in reverse sort of gives me the idea that, you know, you feel like a lot of... You might feel that you might feel like isolated when you're there, that you might not be able to connect with others as easily. That, you know, you'll be happy that you're in Japan, but you might feel that you'll end up being a little bit... You might find it hard to talk with other people or to connect with other people. That might be a worry that you have here, how you feel about yourself internally. How others will perceive you as you are there. Let's see. Have... Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles right here. Also in reverse. So what I'm getting is that how people might perceive you there is that you might seem a little unrelaxed. You might seem a little high-strung. You might seem a little, you know, unable to sort of, like, get comfortable. So, again, what I would recommend is just, you know, getting comfy. People might see you as high-strung, or people might see you as harder to approach or unable to rest, but also, yes, more tentacles. This is 50% tentacles. So, again, that usually just tends to represent, like, a big factor inside this reading. So many reverses, yeah. It's so many reverses, but it's not as if the deck is all reversed. There is that one upright temperance. Also, welcome Viola, and welcome Lavender Bubble Queen. Glad to see you guys stopping by. Hopes and fears, what we have here is Emperor. There's so many reverses. Sometimes this happens, you know. Sometimes one reading is all reverse and the next we get like all right side up. Sometimes the cards just work in mysterious ways. Let's see, the Emperor in reverse. So the Emperor typically is someone representative of, it's representing like someone with power, someone, you know, typically a male figure. It usually represents like someone with power, someone who has more command. And being in school, I would usually assume that like the Emperor could usually represent, you know, like education, someone sort of like leading that school. Like I sort of interpret this as sort of this fear that, you know, the studies might not go as well as you expect them to. You know, there's this fear that, you know, you're going abroad to Japan, but like, how are you going to make the most of it? You know, how are you going to be able to balance that sort of school life and, you know, being able to enjoy where you are? So that's sort of what I'm getting here, is that, you know, doing your work and just doing it in a way that is satisfactory to the people that you are going to school, whose school that you are attending. But the final card here, this is a very reversed reading, is the King of Cups. The outcome seeing this as an outcome usually has me seeing it as representative of you rather than as a person. But the King of Cups in reverse is a symbol of, you know, creativity, of health, of, you know, emotional energy. And seeing it ending up here in reverse at the end of this reading sort of has this idea that there might be some, like, emotional turmoil or, like, just a hard, you know, like, a creative block that you might be feeling. So the way I am sort of interpreting this reading is that there is a lot of fear. There's, like, a lot of uncertainty, I think, is what I'm, like, noticing from the cards here. That, you know, it's very exciting to, you know, study abroad, especially in a country that you're very fond of. But I think there's just also a lot of uncertainty that comes with going to a place that you're not fully familiar with. And I know you've studied a lot of Japanese, you know, you can probably, like, hold a decent enough conversation and everything, but I think there's just, like, a lot of fear in the back of your mind on how the logistics of everything will go. But I always feel like, you know, as long as you just take it one day at a time and you just keep a cool head and just don't go too overboard with don't go too overboard with things while you're over there. I think things will be fine, but I think there's just a lot of warnings that if you don't keep that balance, I think a lot of it is just this here. This is what I find to be the most important this reading. What crowns you, what's sort of in your head. And it's just that idea of keeping a solid balance. And that if you don't keep that balance, then you might end up stressing yourself out a little bit too much. You might end up, you know, coming off as harder to approach. You might come off like, if you like focus too hard on, if you like put your focus on the wrong places, you know, you like worry about, if you like get into your head about things, it might just be very apparent to the people around you as well. So I would just say take it easy. Let me also add Cab to the list here. I hope that was in some way helpful to you, Eggy. But let's go and take a look at Alto's reading, who says he would like to get a job and would like to know how that's going to go. Let's shuffle the deck. Let's see. Let's see what it says about Alto and his job hunt. You know that Alto is, I think you're still in high school. I don't know if you're finished, if you've graduated yet, but you are close to the end of your high school, so it is a reasonable time to go and look for a job. But hopefully the cards have something more positive for you. Let's shuffle pretty thoroughly, and let's make sure. It's always like really funny to me when I shuffle the deck and end up getting like 50% of the same cards from the last reading. You dropped out of most subjects. Oh, I see. So you're just going for the alternative, which is understandable. Sometimes school isn't for everyone. No, sometimes, you know, getting your education, sometimes, you know, it's just not for everyone. You just drop out and you just go and look for a job. You just go straight into the workforce, and that's completely fine. You know, I think it's an option that, like, a lot of people tend to overlook. Or, like, a lot of people will just force college onto, like, students. But I do always appreciate when there are people who can say, like, you know, it doesn't always have to just be, like, dumping your entire life savings to go get an education at a college. Sometimes just going straight into the workforce is also just fine, dude. Reshuffle that one more time. My cards just fell into each other incorrectly. That, and then let's see. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't think I've ever done like a job reading before. Like I don't think I've ever done reading for, like, jobs before. Let's see how this goes. Welcome, Blue Goo. It's hanging pretty well. Just doing some relaxing Sunday morning tarot readings. Let's get Alto here. So, Alto here. So, let's just do this as 1. There we go. So now let's clear all these cards out and see what they have to say about Alto. So Alto, the reading for you says the following. Okay. Very, very on the nose here. Very, very straightforward. So what we're leading off with here is the Ace of Wands as the querent, as the sort of question in mind here, and it's right side up. So, the Ace of Wands right side up, again, very positive card, you know, seeing right side up aces is very, very much representative of new beginnings, of new growths, and the Ace of Wands is a card that sort of represents the manifestation of, like, you know, like more physical power, more just you yourself, you having your this sort of energy. It's sort of just you as a person, you know, you have this newfound like goal in mind, you have this objective, and the Ace of Wands sort of is the manifestation of that energy, that, you know, you're determined to go out and find a new job, and you're determined to make this work. And it's being crossed by the King of Pentacles in reverse. So the King of Pentacles in reverse. The King. Where are you? Here you are. In reverse. So, sort of the idea that I'm getting at here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but sort of this idea that, you know, the inspiration here, what's inspiring you, what's driving you to sort of have this newfound resolve, to have this energy that's like leading you, is some kind of bigger male figure in your life, usually with some authority over you. And the Pentacles here sort of representing, you know, that the situation that you're in is directly related to money, you know, material value. But because this is a job reading, it seems very clear that a need for money, or a need for someone to tell you to make money, is causing you to sort of go on this job hunt. Now what's grounding you is the Six of Swords, and this is also in reverse. And the Six of Swords is a card of motion. It's a card that represents, you know, getting out of one situation, leaving here for your seasonal reading, of course, Bodega. So, seeing the Six of Swords here typically represents motion, you know, it represents an escape. And seeing it in reverse usually means that I would see that the situation that you're in was a very turbulent one, that, you know, the escape that you're seeking is one that happened out of sort of necessity. So, you know, I can see, just as you said from your words, that you dropped out of most subjects that you're job hunting. So, you know, you're going from school to hunting for jobs. You know, it's this motion that you're doing, and it's something that you're fully aware of, that, you know, you're stopping school, you know, you pretty much just like, you're dropping out of school in order to sort of change your focus, right? And that's just something that you're aware of. That's something that you also made me aware of. So that's sort of just the situation at hand. These first three cards typically sort of represent what situation we're at right now. Let me just do this so I don't forget. Right. The past now is represented with the Hermit. So in this whole like job hunt, in this whole situation that you're in right now, the Hermit in the past sort of represents this idea reading. Who does that? Of course. The Hermit typically represents more like isolation, or like more that, you know, that you might have felt a bit isolated or a bit unable to turn to people in this sort of search, right? That maybe you've been job hunting, but maybe you've sort of just been doing things on your own, right? That you've just sort of been looking around without really consulting too many people, or that, you know, you didn't want to really like bring this up to anyone, that you sort of are just trudging along this alone. And, you know, that's not really necessarily a bad thing. Also, welcome removed. Let me also add you, remove. It's not like a bad thing or anything. It's just, you know, sometimes you just want to do things on your own first before like you really like come out to anyone, before you really explain things to anyone. You just want to see, you know, can I do this on my own? And that's completely understandable. What crowns you now is Four of Pentacles in reverse. The Four of Pentacles in reverse again. We saw this come up during Eggy's reading. Again, seeing it in reverse represents that you have to be a little bit more loose-handed with your possessions, with what you have. And seeing this in, you know, that subconscious kind of area sort of gives me the idea that, you know, that for this job that you're looking for this money, for what you're going to be getting, you have a lot of generosity, right? That, you know, you need a job because you need to make money, but part of you also wants to be able to sort of give back to the people who gave to you, you know? That's admirable. That's a good thing. But we can see here that sort of, you know, you want to be able to contribute in some way. And, you know, moving from focusing on your studies to sort of moving from your studies to like finding a job is sort of one way that you feel will be able to sort of help you give back in a way that was given to you, which is not a bad thing. And the future card is the Seven of Swords in reverse. So the Seven of Swords in reverse, again, I've seen this card come up on stream quite a bit. It's a card that represents, you know, sneaking around, getting away with things, but seeing it in reverse, right? It gives me this idea that, you know, mentally that you're really deciding to be a bit more open with things, right? That, you know, asking people for help, coming to people, you know, being more vocal about, you know, that you're trying your best to find a job. And I think it's a good thing, you know, that instead of trying to just, you know, get around, to sneak around and just, you know, do this all on your own, I think talking to people is a very good way. You know, typically in jobs, you have to talk to people to get what you want because you have to let them know what you want. But it seems to me that, you know, where this whole story is going from past to present is that, you know, you're sort of being a little bit more low-key with how you were seeking out work, but it might be easier for you. It might be more for the best that you sort of put yourself out there more, sort of just are more open about needing to find work, you know, letting other people know. Maybe a family friend or maybe someone you know will have something for you, and maybe it's something that they won't know unless you let them know that, you know, you sort of need that help. So let's see. Internally, we have the Page of Cups verse. And the Page of Cups, again, these are pages and knights are typically messengers, you know, passive and active. So passively, you know, you feel like you might be in a rut. You feel like, you know, you can't think of really anything. You don't have really any really solid ideas on sort of how to find what it is that you're looking for. And, you know, it's an important thing, you know, if you feel like you might be in a creative rut, talking to other people can always be a good way to help you sort of figure out what it is that you want to do. So here we are, but you feel like, you know, you're not sure how it is you want to approach things. You might not be even able to, like, think of many ways to sort of, like, start looking for jobs. Or, like, what kind of job you think you might be able to do, say. The way others perceive you now is the Lovers. I know that. Oh, L comes after Q. So smart. The Lovers is right here. So the Lovers in reverse. So the way people seem to perceive you is that someone whose relationships might not be unstable. And again, people always, like, you know, think about the Lovers as a romantic card. It's not necessarily one that is about romance, as it can be just about relationships in general. So, you know, I think the way people perceive you is that you might have rough relationships with those close to you. I don't know if you feel any turbulence in any, like, close relationships, friendships that you have, but it might seem that, you know, you might be doing this because of that kind of thing, because things might be going rough in your personal life. And hopes and fears. It's pretty cut and dry, actually. The card that represents the hopes and fears is the High Priestess. The High Priestess in reverse. The High Priestess in reverse is a pretty clear meaning here. You know, the High Priestess typically represents clairvoyance and understanding, you know, knowing what it is that you want or having that sort of, like, intuition. But seeing it in reverse sort of gives me this idea that you're afraid that you won't know what it is that you want to do or can do. That I think the biggest fear right now is just the unknown. That you don't really know what your options are, and not knowing is very scary. So I think, again, the best course of action here is to just put yourself out there more, take a closer look at what's available around you, and just talk to people, to be open and just be like letting them know that you're, like, looking for a job, and, like, seeing if, like, anyone can give you any sort of connections or any, like, sort of hookups for a job. And what we have here, the outcome. Wow, today's a rough day for readings, huh? It's a rough day. we have Judgment in reverse. So Judgment in reverse as a final outcome here. Judgment is a card that represents, you know, the making of bigger decisions, you know. It's coming to a conclusion, it's coming to an answer here. And the outcome here is that with Judgment in reverse, it seems to, like, call to me, like, the idea of uncertainty, that you might not be so sure of what it is that you settle on if you end up settling on something. So, again, make sure you explore all the avenues that you can. Make sure that you know, give it a, not that I'm saying that you're, like, giving it a half-hearted effort, but to try and look a bit more deeper into what's available around you. To take a look at, you know, what job prospects are there. You know, I know that, like, obviously it's easier said than done to get a job, but, like, see, like, what options you have, really, and just talk to people, you know, just, you know, fill out resumes and stuff, just look for those places that are just hiring and everything. And I think a lot of this is saying to be a little bit more proactive search. So that is what I have for you, Alto. I hope it helps. And that is Alto. Next we have Cab, and then we have Bodega, and then Remove. And again, if anyone wants to get a reading, feel free to just redeem the fortune reading themes, and I will to the queue. Just shuffle the deck. Also, just change on again. Cab VR. Monkey Boy sure can dance. As next up, accurate. She rejected. Oh, you're talking about the same girl that you had a reading on 2 months ago. I see. I'm sorry to hear that happened to you, but let's see what the cards have in store. I think I do remember you asking about a love reading the last time you were here. But, you know, rejection doesn't mean you still can't be friends or anything. No? I think... Hey, Mermaid Melody, welcome. I'm doing well. We're just doing some readings. Hopefully some of these readings end up being a little bit more on the brighter side. I don't want to be fortune reader. I don't want to be that one Eggy meme that she drew where it literally is just me reading the card and it just says, haha, you are fucked. It's funny though, because, like, right after, like, soon after Eggy drew that one meme of me, I'm pretty sure, like, a few months later, Zia drew a similar meme, except I was the one who was getting told that I am getting fucked, so, you know, what goes around comes around, so, yeah, it is. Oops, all doom. Alright, and this is also going to be a long one, and then we're going to revert back to those medium for the next 2 readings. I'd like to keep it simple and ask for a love reading. Of course. Let me also, Melody. You know, we're already fucked, so it can't be worse, can it? Oh, if only you knew. I'm kidding. Yeah, you face rejection, so, you know, obviously I wouldn't say keep on pursuing it. I would recommend stay friends. But if you do have someone in mind, hopefully those things don't go too bad. Will number go up? Of course, Bone Miser. Truly the question that many VTubers all strive to have answered. Might have bent the card a little bit hard. Star. And shuffle. And shuffle. Let's see. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. All right. So the cab is asking about a love life reading. Obviously, a very reasonable thing. It's probably one of the most common readings that we get here. So let's see how Cab's love life is going to go. first card. Wow, okay. They just came in swinging. They just really... The cards just chose violence today, I guess. Thank you for reminding me to hydrate, Magic. Alright, well, like you said, we rejected you since last time, and the cards definitely show that the present day is exactly as you said. We have the Two of Cups reversed, crossed by the Two of Swords, which, again, this is really interesting for a love reading, because the twos typically represent unity. They represent, you know, you and another person. They typically represent pairs. So, what I'm getting here is that this question in your mind, the way you feel, your thoughts here is, the cards just lined up with that. The Two of Cups is a card that represents unity. Again, it represents, you know, joining together. And if you're telling me that you got rejected, then, you know, it represents sort of this sort of discord within that relationship. Not that, like, it's, like, a bad thing necessarily, but, like, you know, it's just something that you sort of have to work through. Like, again, I said, you can you can ask someone out, get rejected, and still be friends with them. That's fine. I mean, depending on who it is, you know, things might be awkward between you, but I think if you really do care about them and you do still, like, value their friendship, I think it's important to just stay friends, you know? And that's being crossed by the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords, again, is a card that represents balance. It represents making, keeping still in the face of danger. And seeing this in reverse sort of represents, you know, that things were very shaky. That you aren't sure how to proceed with this friendship that you have with someone. And that's sort of sitting at the forefront of your mind when it comes to your love life. That, you know, you just ask someone out and you're not sure really where to go from there, you know, how to approach other relationships or even how to approach your relationship with this person. So, is this a comedy? What we have here is the Five of Cups, right side up. And the Five of Cups, so again, the third card here this is the position of what grounds you, sort of the things at the forefront of your mind. And the Five of Cups is a card of regrets, you know? It's a card of, you know, you've made mistakes or you feel that you've made mistakes and, you know, that's what you're thinking about. I'm sorry that the cards are just targeting you specifically, but there's a silver lining here. That's not a comedy, those are cups. The silver lining here is that with the Five of Cups, it's always representative of this idea that you're very much mulling over the loss of something without realizing that there's still things available to you. You know, the Three Cups are knocked down in front of him, but there's still Two Cups by his side. That you're very worried about things that have gone wrong, that you're not considering how things can still be right or how to make things better. And I think that's a very important part when it comes to these kinds of things, when it comes to, like, friendships with others, that you don't have to think of things just being completely ruined, and that there's always ways to just fix relationships, fix friendships. You know, even if you mess up, you can always take the steps to, you know, patch things up. And, you know, even if you have to, you know, not necessarily, like, be in a relationship with them, like in a romantic relationship, that it's not like you can't just talk to that person at all. And, you know, I guess I can't talk about, like, myself and sort of seeking out romantic relationships and having it go wrong. Like, I guess I can actually. Like, you know, you break up, but you still stay friends. That's absolutely something you can do. So I wouldn't just say, like, completely just mourn over the loss there. You can still be friends. So what we have in the past now, the card that represents the past is Two of Wands. We saw this earlier. Yes, you are doing that right. Also, welcome, Dusty. This ways. Let's see you stopping by. So, the Two of Wands here, right side up. What this card sort of speaks to me, what this card is sort of saying to me, is that in the past there was just, like, this period of waiting, right? I don't know how long ago that it was that you got rejected, but I guess it's just sort of dealing with the situation, right? That the rejection, I assume that you mentioned it, is probably at the forefront of your mind. That there was this, you were waiting for the right moment for this to happen, right? That, you know, you were friends with her, and it is going well, thank you. You were waiting, and you waited for what felt the right moment, and that's when things sort of, you know, ended up not going the way you hoped that they had gone. And obviously that makes sense, you know, you don't want to just come out guns blazing, you just impatiently just saying, please go out with me. You know, you wanted to be friends with them for a while and then just break the question, and sometimes just things don't go the way you hope they'd go, and that's alright. What crowns you is Eight of Seven of Pentacles. I know my rules. It's a Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So subconsciously, what it is, the Eight of Pentacles is this, or the Seven of Pentacles is this card sort of feeling tedium. It's of mulling over the hard work that you do and feeling underappreciated for it. And I think seeing it in reverse at the top is this idea that it feels like you've been toiling so hard, and it feels like you feel like there was a lack of anything out of it, you know? If the Seven of Pentacles is representing hard work but feeling unfulfilled, I sort of see it in this situation in reverse, representing more working hard and not getting anything out of it at all, as opposed to, you know, working hard, feeling bored, but still getting something out of it. It's this idea that you put a lot of effort in and you feel that you didn't get anything out of it. And, you know, I don't know whether or not you might agree with that or others might agree with that. You know, I feel like just relationships are always sort of a tricky water to tread when it comes to that. You know, I always just have the idea that, like, you know, it's always a two-way street. No, you know, no one's ever entitled to anything, but it can feel very stinging to, like, put a lot of effort in and then to sort of not have it reciprocated. So I do understand where that sort of feeling can come from. But what we have in the future is, which don't ban me, this is historical, this is tasteful, it's not lewd, it is, I said this even though I already showed the lovers on, you know, already. It's the Star, right side up. So what this sort of means to me is that, you know, despite it all, despite, you know, things not going the way it did, despite, you know, your actions not leading up the way you wanted them to, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, there is a star shining in the darkness, there is positivity to be found throughout this all, you know. Whether or not it is with the same person that you were talking with, or whether or not it's trying to find someone new, trying to find just like your love life in general, there seems to be some kind of, you know, light at the end of the tunnel, some kind of shining star that, you know, is going to be a bit more of a positive influence in your life. Elliot, how much do I have to donate? Gift sub to cut in line. I have an emergency reading you require. If you need to hear your reading right now, I will let you do that. Yeah. If it's like an emergency, like, no one has really ever prompted me with, I need this immediately, it's an emergency, but if you very, very, very desperately need to hear that reading, yeah, there we go. Bodega will let them cut in front of her. So, the Star, again, it's a positive reading. So, you know, despite how you feel very turbulent about this, how you feel like you're full of regrets, I think it's important to move forward and sort of just take the steps to sort of make things better, you know? To make things less awkward, maybe. Again, even if things don't work out the way they do, you can still stay friends, and you can still, you know, form friendships with other people. I think it's just the best thing to do is to move on and to not stay hung up on it like you might be feeling right now. Because again, sometimes things just don't work out, you know? Sometimes you're interested in someone and, you know, they're not interested in you, or you find out that there's just things that are, like, very much incompatible. And that's just how life is sometimes. So just don't be too hung up on how that all is. Oh my god, yeah, I will. I will I will get to that after I finish this one. So internally, Cab. Internally, we have the Five of Pentacles. Right side up, which the way you feel internally, this is a very straightforward card. The card means that you're in shambles. It means that, you know, you feel like you're going through hell right now, which emotionally you might be, that things just don't feel great. And a lot of these negative cards, honestly, Cab, are cards that sort of are representative of the present or the past. I think that, you know, you're going through a lot, but I don't think that these cards are saying anything negative as much as they are saying how you might be feeling. And thank you for the gift sub as well to Bodega. I appreciate it, pup. How other people perceive you, on the other hand, is someone who might be a little bit more closed off and holding tightly to what he has. Whether or not that might be, like, you know, relationship-wise, like the people that you hold close to you, but it's sort of showing to me that, you know, there's something that you're sort of trying to cling onto here, something that you're trying to hold tightly onto. And despite you feeling that things are in shambles, other people just see that there's something that you hold dear to you. And the hopes and fears, seems more like a hope than a fear. Actually, this seems more neutral. Is that now that, you know, things have happened, you've already said your piece, you've already talked with them, talked it out, I assume. Your hopes and dreams is that, hopes and fears is that there's the full right side up. So it's a card that represents, you know, new beginnings, the start of a journey. And it's a card that sort of indicates that, you know, you've invested someone, didn't go well, and now you need to know how to move on. And you're hoping that you feel like you can just get a new start somewhere, you know, starting again, starting a new journey, whether or not, you know, maybe your friendship with whoever it was went really badly, but you want to sort of get a new foot, or maybe you just want to try to meet new people, whichever interpretation you want to take that. There's that sort of hope there, and maybe the fear that, you know, it's scary to dive into the unknown. And the outcome. Now, I know this card looks scary, but I think seeing it in reverse is actually more of a positive thing. That we have the Nine of Swords in reverse, which you can see is someone waking up from a very bad dream. And in reverse, it sort of represents that you have woken up. Not that you are suffering from what happened in the dream, but rather, you know, it's sort of that clarity that you understand that you kind of just went through hell right now. And I think once you've thought things over, once you've cleared your mind of what you've been mulling over, he just woke up, you did the magic, it works. I'm glad that he woke up. I'm glad you were able to get to him. How do you fall asleep with the VR headset? Anyway, yeah, it's the way I'm reading this for your love life, Cab, is that, you know, things went downhill, but if you take the time to just, you know, think about how that relationship went, try to mend things with that relationship, and try to just look forward to the future, I think the future's looking a bit more brighter than you think it is. You just have to make sure that you're not hung up on things. If you get hung up on, like, the past, especially when it comes to things like love, it really can just eat away at you. It can really just be like soul sucking. So just make sure you're not just dwelling over things too much, alright? And if you're able to do that, if you're able to just sort of rationalize in your head these things, I think things will look a lot brighter. Hopefully that helps, Cab. He laid down on the floor, headset on. That's just, was he like in VR chat or something? Like, I couldn't imagine like playing an active game and falling asleep. That's just, I don't know. Oh no. Oh god, he was playing drunken Beat Saber. Never mind. Yeah, I wouldn't know how to wake someone up. Like, when it comes to like waking up people, usually like what I would do is like call them on Discord or something. But if you have streamer mode on, I don't think you're gonna get the call sounds. But yeah, that's just a little different. Alright, so let's see. Now, so since Paladin has woken up, I don't think we need to add Pup to the list, since Paladin is now awake. There are cuddle buddies on VR chat and they form groups. That's cute. It is a good story. Your day tomorrow, you had a really rough one. Of course. Though, since this is less of an emergency, would you still like to have cut in front, or are you fine to be put at the bottom of the list, Pup? I am sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that your day was rough. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. I know the Paladin one was a joke because we just wanted to wake him up. Let me just add you to the list. And then we have Bodega Rat, who just wants a general fortune reading. Though, you know, we have the Oomphy to Oomphy telekinesis, so I know what Bodega's thinking about. Oomphy to Oomphy communication. Fortunes are told through the Oomphy. Anyway, let me get her profile icon. Bodega Rat. A rat from the... Alright. Going back to medium. I think all the readings so far here are medium, which is fine. Fortune telling, so true. You certainly know Oomphy. Ooh, this is a smaller image. I love bread. Much. There's the Oomphy. And we can just shuffle this a little bit more. And one of these days, I'll get an ASMR mic. And for tarot streams, I'm just gonna like put the ears right next to the cards as I shuffle them, so you can hear that sweet, crisp card shuffling, that fantastic bridge shuffle ASMR. Sometimes I think about I like ASMR tarot would be really nice. I'm glad you think so. I was just having like a normal day like the other day, and then someone like DM'd me seeing like I caught you in 4K, and then she linked me a post that I made in r/Pillow Talk audio, because back when I lost that first attempt in Tetris against Ein, I was like, you know what, I want more people to see this. I went and recorded it. I'm gonna post it to the right avenues. So I posted like the recording, the intimate like friends to lovers ASMR, or not ASMR, the friends to lovers script reading that I did like back a month or two ago, and I was like, why are you just calling me out like this? But it was fun to do that. I would like to do more of that. Did I get kudos? I did get like upvoted a little bit, and people commented on it, and they were saying how they really like my reading, but I was like, thank you. Will I do another one ever? I have to do another one of those audios that the community has to vote on. So I'm probably gonna make a channel for that and the Save for Work Scab for the subathon, because I didn't do either of those yet, but I need to do that. So I'm probably gonna make a channel in my Discord for that. If you would like to have any hand in what weird audio reading that I do, or what funny art gets commissioned to me on Scab, feel free to join the Discord. I share it with Professor Bloom, because we are both teachers, so we just have the Teachers Lounge. But let's get to this reading. I am like off my game with my shuffle today. Let's just shuffle it a little bit more, just to make sure the cards are thoroughly discombobulated. I feel like as a seer, I probably shouldn't describe cards as being discombobulated. Probably shouldn't, but vocabulary isn't real. Words aren't real. Diary of a Wimpy Kid dramatic reading. Oh god. I've actually never read The Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I heard it's a good series, though. Stretch? It has been an hour. Thank you for reminding me to do my daily stretches. I stand up? I should stand up. I cracked my back too. I think I cracked my back enough today. Sometimes, like when I'm trying to sleep, like wow, I wonder why I'm so uncomfy. And then I like sit up, and then I realize that my back has not been cracked yet in that day. So like I cracked my back last night, and I heard like 18 vertebrae crack at once. Felt really good. It's 4 a.m. Have a fun time reading tarot, and don't accidentally call upon the apocalypse. Thank you for sticking around, Magic. Oh, Kumar, if you want to join, welcome. Glad to see you stopping by. There are redeems that you can use in tarot. I don't really have the same tarot bot that other people have. I just make a list. You can see that there's a list on screen. So if you want to redeem that, yeah, there we go. You follow and you get 300 points, and you can redeem a reading, or you can redeem a medium reading. It's strategic. It's because that's just how it is. Exclamation point join. Yeah, I don't have any tarot bots. I just have Notepad. But Bodega, let's see what the reading says for you. For general fortune Jinn. Well, I'm not a genie, so that's not gonna work. Remove. So let's take a look. Medium readings, as you know, are just 6-card readings, past, present, future, and the influences upon them. So we're just gonna look first at the past card. Queen of Swords. So, Queen of Swords can represent... What does the future hold for you? Of course. Let me add it to the list. Umar. So, the Queen of Swords in this read, typically it could represent someone else, or it could represent yourself. Usually, for women, like, I see the Queen of Swords representing themselves, like how sometimes I'll see the King of Swords as themselves. The Queen of Swords represents, swords typically represent things like challenges or aspects of the mind. And seeing the Queen of Swords in reverse sort of gives me this idea that you may have had situations recently that have really been weighing heavily on your mind. People that you may have challenged you, people that you may have, thought you could believed in. And, in reverse here, it's sort of showing that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of just, if there was certainty in your mind represented by like an upright Queen of Swords, that certainty is just very much dashed. Seeing it in reverse, you may feel that you were challenged and that those challenges were more difficult than you expected them to be. The center here is what we have in the present is the Three of Swords right side up. And let me actually make it bigger. I have enough room to make this 6-card reading look a little bit bigger. So the Three of Swords in reverse typically represents a broken relationship, or like a damaged friendship. It represents a feeling of betrayal. It represents, this idea that someone that you trusted, you can't trust anymore. Someone might have hurt you in recent time. And it's this idea that you're just, like, wondering how it is that you deal with things, how you move on from it. Which is what takes us to the future. The future... Ace of Pentacles, which is good. It's a positive card. So for this reading, as the Ace of Pentacles, it's a card that represents, the manifestation of, the physical. It represents that there is, there's new ground to cover, there's new ground to be found, and, it's very much an inspiration. It's very materialistic that, in the future, good fortune will be coming to you, right? That I guess the obvious thing, the easy way out would just be say, you're gonna be rich, you're gonna get new money. But it's this idea that you might find new avenues that will inspire you to sort of reach that sort of wealth. Whether it's physical, literal money, or if it's something that sort of makes you feel more inspired, or if it makes you feel... like, make you feel wealthier, like, emotionally as well. It's a card that represents that sort of, like, positive gain. Whether or not that gain is a literal physical thing, or if that gain is just something that you feel internally. So while you may have been hurt in recent past and present, it seems that, you know, that these relationships, that these incidents that have come to pass are turning out for more of a positive change in the end. Whether that means how you deal with your relationships. Like, how you deal with your relationships is one thing, but I think overall, the outcome is going to be positive for everyone involved. And let me now... Yeah, let's see. So, the past here. While I said that, you know, the Queen of Swords in reverse represented a loss or a mental challenge, like, you'll out your... Yeah. The Queen of Swords in reverse is being crossed by the Ten of Swords. One interesting thing to see here is that, you know, not only was there sort of like disappointment or defeat that you felt, but this is like utter and complete defeat. This is like whatever expectations you had, whatever challenge that you were facing, is a challenge that you feel that, you know, not only did it go badly, it went probably in the worst case scenario that it could have ever gone. And to represent that in the present, we have... Wow. We have the Fool. And the Fool is also right side up here. So, what I think is interesting here is that in the past, there's this indicator of loss, of things not going how you wanted them to go, things just ending up badly. But it turns out that, you know, this heartbreak, this hurt that you feel, is being crossed by the Fool. And the Fool is a card that represents new opportunities. It represents new beginnings. It represents the start of a new journey. So, you certainly were to shut up. While it feels like, you know, you've lost a lot and you've gone through a lot of hurt, it seems like that hurt was necessary for growth. And that because of that, it's being crossed by the indicator of a new journey, that, you know, you are able to sort of move on to something new, to something different, and you can use it as a sort of inspiration on how to sort of progress forward. You actually move, right? This seems to be constructed more visibly challenged. Oh, my OBS scenes are actual spaghetti. They will never stop being spaghetti, I assure you. The last card now, the Ace of Pentacles, is crossed by... Alright. What we have here is the Knight of Cups. Oh, and Nuno, welcome, thank you for the raid. Let me just finish this reading for Bodega Rat, and I will also shout you out. Thank you, everyone. So, shout out. You know, I hope your stream went well. Those of you just coming in, my name is Elliot Ambrose, and I do a lot of, you know, I play a lot of strategy games, but every now and then I also like to do fortune reading streams, and we're doing a tarot reading stream. We have a bit of a queue here, but, you know, if you also want a fortune reading, feel free, and as someone who has rated into me, I will give you some priority because it feels right as someone who has rated into me. But as you can see here, the Ace of Pentacles, Bodega, is being crossed by the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Cups is a more active messenger of that creative and emotional energy. So what I'm seeing here is that while you have been hurt— oh my god! We got him to type it raid. Thank you for the double raid. Shoutouts to No Name Paladin as well. Welcome, double raiders. Thank you. My name is Elliot Ambers. I hope you guys enjoyed both the streams that you were in from both Nuna and Paladin's streams. I hope, Paladin, you're okay. I hope you're awake now, but also you should probably go to sleep. You should get some rest. I know you were playing Drunk Beat Saber. But yeah. Anyways, back to finishing up this reading. It seems that there was a lot of hurt in your past, Bodega, in your recent past and present, but a lot of it seems to be leading towards more inspiration, you know? It's that idea that, you know, if you've been hurt in the past, that you can sort of use that emotional energy to sort of fuel you, you know? Instead of, like, dwelling on it or just mulling over for forever, you can use that pain that you felt to sort of push you forward, to sort of motivate you into something more productive. So that's my reading for you, Bodega. That is the oomphy reading. But yeah, if either Paladin or Nuna, if you guys would like a small reading, feel free to let me know if you want a reading on anything, and I will do one for you whenever you are ready. But otherwise, we are going to move on to remove. How do I get a reading for you, the cat? Just since you just followed, you can redeem. It's one of my redeems, and I make it so that everyone who follows is able to at least get a medium-length reading, which is what you see on the screen here with the 6 cards. So you just redeem Fortune Reading Medium, you'll be able to get that. The long readings are a bit more expensive because they take a lot more time, but you know, if you just hang around for a stream or two, you'll probably build up that 2,000 points. But also, thank you for the follow, Itterine. Hope your day is going well as well. Right, so it is time to remove Bodega. You don't have a good question to ask, that's fine. It's fine. You can just take your time and wait until, you know, you're ready to come up with a question, or just have a general fortune reading. Alright, Kit. Kit, remove. Remove. Oh man, I have to go to actual other. I didn't open up an. Usually when I'm streaming, I don't have Google open. You're just coming up with your own question now. You did ask for a general fortune reading. So if you do come up with something in the time that it takes for me to get to you, I will just do a general future reading. But otherwise, your Twitter account to find your image. Oh, good. How did I forget what your Twitter handle was? I feel like I'm usually able to remember most people. You have a Nico account? That's the Untitled life there, I guess. As go. Go. I feel like this is the time of the year where yeah, you can ask for a general fortune reading, like just how your future is going to be. I feel like this is the time of year when I work best given enough time, but next month, if things go well, you'll have next to no time, and you're thinking, how? Alright, so what I will do for you then, Remove, is I'm going to give you this is going to be a job reading too. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you think so. It's always nice to hear people say that. I appreciate it. Thank you. So yeah, I'm gonna do a reading for you, Remove, on how your job's gonna go. Can you drop kick me? At least take me to dinner first. At least treat me to a nice dinner before you threaten me with a good time. You drop kick people that you think they're cool. Well, I'm glad you want to drop kick me. Yeah, I can use it. Yeah, just redeem it. Just redeem the reading, Star Werewolf, and I will do it. Yeah. Yeah, starting a new job is always scary. That's why I've stayed at my own job for about 6 years at this point? Check DMs. Go. And will. So how is Remove's time management gonna go over the next month? Time management is certainly a problem. Why I became a teacher, because, you know, teachers have a lot of time off. I still have about 2 weeks until work really starts for me. So, you know, I like to think that I picked a pretty good gig, you know. Some people might make fun of teachers for, like, being underpaid or something, but, like, I value my time so much that I really appreciate the job that I have. Here's how it's starting. First card that we have the past is represented by the Eight of Cups. Eight of Cups, where are you? Eight of Cups. It's a card of regrets, and it's a card of, like, moving away from it, right? Which is interesting. Yeah, they have been improving, and, like, a lot of schools have been improving the wages as well. But, I feel like our district didn't really improve them all too much, though that might change once we get into this year. I think negotiations for the contracts are going on this year. So, we can see we have the Eight of Cups here. It's a card of, you know, letting go of what you have, even if... Thank you for the follow as well, Tsar Werewolf. It's a card of letting go of what you have, even if what you have is positive. It's understanding that you sort of need to move forward with your life. So, you know, there might be things in your job that you had to sort of give up on, or sort of had to, like, make compromise with. And I guess that could be sort of, like, be more equated to this move that you're going to be making. I know it says the past, but we can adjust the time frame a little bit, since you're talking about how you're going to cope once the change actually happens. For the present, we have the Knight of Cups. Knight of... Which again is a card that represents sort of emotional growth, or like, you know, just like inspiration that's sort of just like brimming in your mind. You know, you have these ideas, you know, you're at work and you just... It represents a more, like, positive energy that maybe you might not have as much time, but you might feel maybe more fulfilled at work, or feel like you'll be able to accomplish things better than you were before. But yeah, so, you know, despite the fact that you're given enough time, I think what I'm getting here is that, you know, I think you're going to be able to find a way to sort of, despite being in a time crunch, sort of make things work, you know? And I think that's how a lot of things go, you know? A lot of times people are like, you like worry about things, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the wire, I feel like people always tend to find a way to make things work regardless. So, you know, even if you work best given enough time and that you might not have any time, I think, you know, the dedication to the job will sort of give you that sort of inspiration to be a little bit more creative in how you approach your job and how you are able to sort of feel everything. Elliot stream, what's up, Kuro? Glad to see you at this hour. Yeah, it's an afternoon Terra stream. Glad to see you stopping by, though. Interesting. So, with that creativity, with that sort of way of thinking, I think it's interesting how this last card is now the Four of Cups reversed. So, when you get to that point, where you're at more of a time crunch, where you feel like you have to think a little bit harder, I see this as a card that sort of gives the indication that you're going to be moving a lot. You're going to be moving forward. And it also lines up with the fact that Knights are very active cards as well, that you're not going to have time, but it's not to say that you won't be able to accomplish what it is that you need to accomplish at work, but it's going to be very active. You're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to be doing a lot more. And sometimes that could be a good thing. Sometimes it can be very draining, which I get. But it seems like more positive so far, that you'll be able to sort of roll with the punches and deal with the hand that your job gives you. But let's see the influences on these cards, because that's going to sort of give a newer perspective as well. But will I be drinking from all these cups? Yeah, it's also a very cup-heavy reading, which I think is another interesting thing to touch upon. I will after this. So the next card that we have is not a cup, actually. It is the Six of Pentacles right side up. So the Six of Pentacles influencing the Eight of Cups is sort of this idea that, you know, you have to give up your time, you have to give up what made your job, you have to, like, give up the comfort that you had in order to be able to, like, better, you know, provide and better give to everyone else. You know, that you want to be... It's for the sake of helping out others that you, like, have this job. And I think a lot of times when you have a job, you know, unless you, like, live on your own or, like, don't have anyone to take care of, you're usually, like, caring for other people just by having a job, just by making money, because there's people that you're giving back to, there's people that you're caring for, and pushing yourself to work harder is part of that, you know? Like, you wouldn't work harder if it wasn't for the fact that you knew that there were things that you had to take care of. so the Knight of Cups is now being crossed by the Cups, actually. Seven of Cups. What I think is interesting, because the Seven of Cups here is reversed. And the Seven of Cups is typically a card that represents, you know, having a lot of choices, having inspiration, having like a lot of creative energy when it comes to like being able to plan out different projects. But seeing it in reverse sort of gives me the idea that you're going to be zoned in on one specific idea. That one idea will come up into your mind, and it's going to be the idea that sort of really drives how you put forth your energy when it comes to working. That instead of sort of like thinking about too many different possibilities, you're going to come up with a plan and sort of, you know, focus on that plan, and that plan is what's going to sort of push you through your work. Then the last card that we have here. Okay, this is a pretty positive reading overall. It's the Two of Pentacles right side up. And the Two of Pentacles right side up is sort of, again, that balancing of, you know, what you have, that material value. And, you know, it's making sure that you are not being too stingy with what you have, but also not being too liberal with what you have, not being too just giving, which is interesting because we also have this here, which represents that sort of generosity, but also an understanding that, you know, you can't give too much. You also have to take care of yourself. And seeing that this reading has four different cup cards in it sort of gives me the idea that a lot of moving forward here, a lot of how things are going to go well is really based on your emotional and creative energy. That, you know, you just have to be very quick on your feet. You have to be very, very wide in your thinking. And I think if you are able to just use that creativity, then you will be able to succeed in a position where you feel like you might be worried that you won't be able to pick up the slack. So it seems like things will go well as long as you keep a steady head and as long as you adapt. I think that's the big thing, is that you adapt to the new timetable, because that's really going to be the hardest part, I think. But I think once you do, you'll find yourself in a good flow. Also, thank you for the follow, Midnight Rain Love. If you'd like to join the queue here, you can see that there is a list of people who are going to be getting readings. Just do one of the redeems. If you look at the bottom of the chat window, there should be a button for redeems, and you can either get a short reading or a medium length reading, because that is the length of readings that you can get the moment you follow. But if you hang around, you'll probably build up points, and maybe eventually I feel like the people who join for a tarot reading typically aren't the people who are around for the other streams that I do. So if you are interested in strategy games or, I don't know, teaching streams, which I haven't done in a long time, then, you know, you can build up points that way, but they just build up over time. But if you'd like to join and you'd like to get a medium length reading, then feel free. And I will add you to the list once you tell me what you would like to have a reading on. But we'll move on to the next reading for a Hermit. Shuffle a little bit more. We'll move on. Shuffle in. And then Mermaid Melody, and then Bone Miser. TLDR, I'm drinking. You're drinking. That's what all the cups represent. You're just gonna get lost in that drink. Gonna be on that lean. You know, during the time when like people were making all those lean jokes, I'm surprised that I never was a target of them, despite how like purple my color scheme is. You know, I feel like I'd be the kind of person who would be like, "Ha, Elliot loves lean because he's so purple." He's got that purple drink. Anyway, a job finance reading, of course. Let's see. Let me add you to the list. Midnight Rain Love. This. Drenched in Drank. A Mermaid Melody. Let me get his Grave of. Can I copy people's like icons? That'd be pretty neat. Not copy Discord. I could just go to file. Dr. Drop my lead inhibitors. Sorry to interrupt what you teach. I teach, so when I'm on the clock at work in the academy, I typically teach math. I've actually done a VTuber Math Olympiad in the past, but on stream I used to do Japanese lessons. I used to teach Japanese lessons when I was doing like self-study, just to like help myself reinforce the material that I was learning. But it's been quite a long time since I have done Japanese lessons. But one day I will get back to doing Japanese lessons. And when I do, oh, you guys are not ready. I'm gonna get Nihongo Jozu'd so hard. Both the L's and his name stand for lean. No problem, no problem. Thank you for asking for the reading as well. Alert. What is this? Okay, property. Here it is. But yeah, I am a wretched, accursed math teacher. I teach the arts of numbers. You'd think being a math teacher I'd be a lot better at like numerology and stuff, but I still need to study that more. One of these days I will start doing cartomancy readings as well. I will add that to the list of requests, but that'll be a bit from now. I still need to study. Alright, let's see. So, Mermaid Melody, thank you. I'm glad you think so. Appreciate it. So Mermaid Melody saying, ask for a love reading. Okay. A love reading for Mermaid. 3. So here we go. Here we go, Mermaid. Let's blank all these cards. 5, 6. Oh. The card that leads off this reading, the past, when it comes to love, when it comes to your love life, Temperance in reverse. I think this is an interesting card because it can go either two ways when it's talking about love. We can see it as an imbalance, right? So Temperance is the idea of keeping all things in moderation, but obviously in reverse, it's sort of that the cups are spilling out, that things aren't balanced, right? And I guess this is something that you know more than I would because you're yourself better than anyone else, but the way I see it is that your approach to love might be out of balance. Whether this means that, you know, it's not something that you focus on at all or something that you might have invested too much stock in, it seems like there's an imbalance there, that maybe you either focus on it too hard or too little. Depending on how things are, it could go one of the other ways, but there is an imbalance there, that things aren't balanced out in a way that is, well, it's not negative, but it's just, you've either probably been like chasing something too hard or just not chasing anything at all. And that's something that you could answer yourself, you could think about. What we have for the present card is the past is definitely imbalanced. Right. And I'm sure you understand in what way. The Seven of Swords now, this is in reverse. So what this means for the present in regards to your love life, I think, is that the way you feel about others, the way you want to express your emotions is very transparent. That you're not someone who tries to hide away, you're not someone who's very cagey, who tries to like lock things away, but rather you are someone who is very open, that in the realm of love, that you make it apparent how you feel, or you at least try to. That you don't try to keep things like really locked up or cagey. Or at least you might not want to, at the very least. How you act might not be exact, but it's the idea that I'm getting from the cards here. And what we have for the future for your love life is Seven of Pentacles in reverse. So not in reverse, right side up. What I think is interesting about this, actually, so an imbalance of love followed by being very open about yourself, followed by this toil. It's this idea, you know, when you feel very strongly about someone, right? You don't really like, yeah, that's very understandable too. But what I get here is that, you know, there's someone that you might feel like very strongly about, and maybe you let them know that you care about them, whether or not you confess to them directly or anything, or just that you let them know that they're important to you. You let them know, and you might be wanting or expecting something or hoping that something comes of this, but the Seven of Pentacles is that feeling that, you know, you might be working hard for someone, or that you might be trying for the attention of someone, and it feels like eventually it'll pay off, but for now it feels like a lot of effort that you're putting into it, if that makes sense. That, you know, sometimes, you know, when it comes to relationships, might feel like you might be putting in more than you're getting out of it, which, you know, you never want to feel like it's imbalanced like that, but sometimes, you know, for the sake of someone you care about, you put in a lot of work. Yeah, that's I like doing that. It also helps me when I go back and check the VOD to see, like, who I read for. But, let's see the influences here. Very interesting that Temperance is getting balanced, or getting crossed by the Two of Swords. As always. Well, hopefully the insight can be a little bit more helpful then. Let's see how these influences are. So we have the reverse Two of Swords, which again, this just really means that it's like very, very, very imbalanced. That there is like, it's not even like the cup just got spilled. It's just like, everything is just like, you know, there's a lot of commitment towards one specific thing, or one specific ideal here in the past. And while there may be a tight line that you need to balance on, it's a line that you have thrown away all caution away from. That, you know, it's, yeah, in the far past your teenage years. Yeah, there is just a lot of recklessness, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but, like, you know, sometimes if you're reckless, other people might get hurt. But it seems like that was in the past. In the present, so what we have here, I actually don't get this card in readings too frequently. It is the Devil. And the Devil is very much a card of desire, a card of wanting, and it's a card that I think representing it influencing over a card like the Seven of Swords in reverse is a card that shows that, you know, you're being open and honest about yourself because, you know, there's something that you want, and that thing that you want, you want it to be reciprocated, but you don't want there to be, like, any secrets there. You don't want to, like, get what you want without being very honest about yourself as well. That, you know, it's that sort of idea of, like, them accepting you for who you are kind of thing. That there's someone you care about, but, like, you don't want them to care about you if it isn't the genuine, actual you. But you are being open because, you know, it's someone that you feel you can open up to and you want to open up to. And this last card that is in... So, wow. You've definitely learned from them. That's good. What we have here, crossing the Seven of Pentacles, like we said, it's a card that represents working hard and feeling like, you know, that there's an expectation that you're doing a lot, and, like, while you might not expect anything in return, you're just hoping that someday it'll pay off. This is being crossed by the Eight of Cups in reverse. And the Eight of Cups in reverse, again, the Eight of Cups we talked about earlier being this sort of idea of letting go. Of letting go because you know that, like, despite having it good, that there's better places to move on to. Here, it's this idea that, you know, there's still something holding you to where you're at, holding you to this, maybe this relationship that you're trying to, like, form, like, this person that you're trying to be with, that maybe, you know, it's like, it feels like it's, like, keeping you stuck in a place, or just keeping you looking for other options. You know, you're expecting, you know, you're hoping that something will work out, but in the hopes that something will work out, you're sort of, you know, you're restricting yourself to stay in the same place that you're at instead of, like, looking for something new. So it seems like there's a lot of commitment here, a lot of dedication, but make sure that, you know, if things don't work, that you leave yourself open for other options, is what I'm getting for this reading. I hope that helps. Next up, we have Bone Miser. Also, if anyone ever just, like, has any questions about their readings, feel free to just ask questions, you know? Like, if there's anything that I say that seems like confusing or you want more clarification on, I'd be more than happy. You wouldn't think that you're overly dedicated there, but you get the gist of it. Yeah. I hope it helps. You know, overall, you know, it's fun to do, like, readings and, like, these interpretations here. But also, I hope that, you know, these fortune readings give you something to think about, give you, you know, ideas, things that, like, maybe you might not have been thinking about, or things you might have been thinking about but weren't sure about as well. So, what is up next? The deck. Right. So, I'll pick that. It's gonna be incredibly large. Big Bone Miser. A rare Twitter PNG profile pic instead of JPEG. Essentially just broaden your horizon, meet more people, and yeah, exactly. That's the gist of it. You know, don't overcommit to anyone until like you're ready to commit. When you're looking for love, just, you know, broaden your horizons. The Bone Miser asked, how number go up? Will number go up? So let's just see. You know, obviously I can't answer yes or no questions with the tarot, but we can just talk about, you know, growth. We'll do that. It's funny how you put it. Though working towards something with no expectation but a faint hope that perhaps... Well, yeah, and those are the cards, you know, the vertical cards, you know, the cards that we go through first, the first three, those are always just, those are the base. Those are like, sort of the past, present, future, like the main thing, while the cards that go across are more just like possible influences on those cards, on the past, present, and future. So those influences are more like to get a closer idea, but the main idea is within those first three cards. Miser. Cool. 3. And 1, 2. Exactly. You might be attached, but like, you know, it's, you meet new people, you get interested, realize that things might not work out, and it's alright, you know? You'll find someone new. That's just life, isn't it? Now, okay. Let's get it, take it from the top. The first card that we have in your reading here is Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords, again, we saw this earlier, but it was upside down. Now it's right side up. And the Six of Swords is a card that represents movement, you know? In regards to growing a channel, and in regards to, like, sort of seeing how your numbers are, I guess in a simple way, I think just talking about your channel and talking about your growth and sort of just your reach as a person in general, we can see that there was a change that had happened recently, and it sort of caused you to move from like one place to another, right? Maybe there was somewhere that you were like more active in, somewhere that a community that you participated in a lot, but it's something happened and there's something causing you to sort of move away from where you were, right? Sort of seek new pastures, sort of seek a different place to sort of find community. Not to say that you're leaving people behind, but that you're looking for new horizons, really. Being influenced by Five of Cups, right side up as well. And again, the Five of Cups is a card of, you know, regrets and also forgetting to look on the bright side, you know? It's, the cups are all knocked over and the 2 cups are behind them. It's a card that sort of gives the idea that, you know, you feel like things are going badly, right? That you feel like you might not be doing as good as you should be doing or could be doing, but there's still positives, right? And I think just in general, I think when it comes to, you know, VTubing and the VTuber community, it's easy to get hung up on numbers and wanting to incline and everything. But there's also other things that you can look at, right? Like the friendships that you've made, the people you've met, the people who do watch you. And it's easy to tunnel in on wanting to just focus on growing. But it's also important to appreciate the people who are still surrounding you as well. Not saying that you don't appreciate them, but sometimes I definitely understand how, you know, focus can be shifted and focus can be tunneled into specific places. And it's always a really hard mindset to get out of. Like, you know, some people like will get very caught up in the grind. They'll get caught up in wanting to be a big streamer and wanting huge numbers. But it's also important to understand that, you know, I've been doing this for like a year and a half. A lot of other people have been doing it. Like, a lot of other people that I've met have been like closing in on a year or have already passed a year as well. And I think understanding that there's more to growing your brand and growing your presence than just numbers is important. So make sure that you don't get too hung up on just chasing that. And the future is filled with uncertainty. Because we have the moon here. What we have here, the moon is a card that represents a lot of uncertainty and a lot of doubt, and just like unsure of how the path forward is going to look. It's that sort of darkness, you know, when you have just the moon in the sky. You can see the moon, but it doesn't do much for brightening up the path ahead of you. It leaves you with an uncertain destination. And in regards to growth, it gives me this sort of vibe that, you know, we don't know, really. Growth can go in any direction, but I think there's a lot of uncertainty in pushing forward through that, you know? And I think sometimes when you don't know what to do, sometimes you just have to do something, right? That even if there isn't a clear path forward, you'll walk in one direction and you'll get somewhere eventually. So that is sort of the base story here, but let's see how the card sort of So when we talked about the past, we talked about moving forward, moving away from things, and that's being influenced by the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Which, again, the Six of Pentacles in reverse gives me this idea that moving... and thank you, Ed. Hey, Nico. So, it's this idea that the movement that you were taking is influenced by some kind of generosity, or maybe that you had given a lot to others. That this idea that, you know, you might have spread yourself too thin and you wanted to focus sort of on yourself more than supporting others, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's always good to support others, but, you know, sometimes you need to take care of yourself and focus on yourself as well. I definitely have enough time for more readings, yeah. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people waiting in queue, and we've only been going for 2 hours. So now, the middle is represented by the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. So the Wheel of Fortune is just a card of, you know, things being really left up to chance, things being left up to fate that... Yeah, of course. It's this idea that, you know, we talk about the Fool being a card of, like, endless possibilities of anything can happen. The way the Wheel of Fortune is different from that is that it's more... instead of you having that sort of endless possibilities pop, it's that idea that, you know, anything can happen, and it's not really in anyone's hands. And having that in reverse sort of feels like, you know, a loss of that control, which I think is interesting to be crossed with the Five of Cups, because, you know, if you're hung up on, you know, like, if you're worrying about numbers going up or down, sometimes really it just feels like a lot of it is out of your hand. You know, you can do your clipping, you can, like, clip yourself, you can advertise yourself places, but sometimes it just feels like, you know, some days things work out, you know, sometimes you have, like, streams where a lot of people show up, and sometimes you have streams where not a lot of people show up. It feels like, you know, it's not fully in your control, and it just feels like you don't know what to do because of that. And the last card that we have, the final here, I think is an interesting thing. So the way forward, you know, is unclear. It's, and as if you weren't always thinking it, I always think it when I see that card pop. It's the card, it's death in reverse. So I think the influence here is very interesting, because death is a card that represents an immediate change, like a massive change. Of course, I'll add you to the list. the thing about this is that I think there's a fear here, you know, your nemesis. The fear that, you know, the path ahead is not very clear. And because the path isn't clear, or the reason why the path isn't clear is because there's like this fear of stagnation, right? There's this fear of not being able to do anything. So what it is, I think, the best advice I could give you moving forward is to just don't be afraid to just do things. Sometimes, you know, streams don't go as well as you want them to. Sometimes things don't work out. But if you let the fear of stagnation cloud your path forward, you won't be able to find any guidance through that night, you know? I think if you just, you know, take a step somewhere, take a step anywhere, try something new. I think that's another big thing, is that instead of just sitting in your comfort zone, maybe trying out new things, trying out different things, might be a way to sort of help you push forward there, to like sort of give you a little bit more confidence and maybe help just spread your name out there. But I think a lot of this serves as a warning, especially the future cards, Moon crossed by Reverse Death, is this card that sort of represents a possible stagnation due to, you know, indecision. I think the most important thing that you could do is to just make a decision. And I'm glad you love my readings, Neko. I appreciate it. It always makes me happy when I like see people coming back for readings time and time again, you know? I always appreciate it because it's like, wow, people actually like want me to read their fortunes. It's always nice. So let's shuffle it one more time. Not one more time, we have quite a few readings to go through. We'll go through Dusty next and then Pup. Nice thing, I should probably archive my VODs better, actually. I was thinking about this. I have every single one of my tarot streams archived, but I remember that, I think there's one or two that I didn't upload to YouTube. No problem, Budmeister. I hope it helped. I hope the reading helped. There's one or two reading streams that I don't think I uploaded to YouTube, but no, because I know sometimes some people will, you know, get a reading, but, you know, sometimes it takes a bit to get through these, so, you know, things get busy and you have to leave the stream for a bit, but I feel like, you know, just having those readings up there for people to go back to, I think is very helpful. That's also why I use the icons in the corners, because when you're, like, going through a VOD, it's hard to, like, read the name sometimes, but if you recognize your icon, that just means, oh, that's where I was getting my reading. I think I came up with that idea. I think I came up with the entire, like, original layout, because the layout that I used here was actually... Here. Close out. The reading that I actually used was the same. This is the same overlay that I used for my New Year's fortune reading, which that was a really fun stream. I just put a black thing over this, but having that hole there just to like show who was reading. I think that's what Mio did when she was doing her tarot readings, because her New Year's tarot reading was actually what inspired this right here. But let's see. Next up we have Destiways. I believe I have him on Twitter, so. There we are. There's the icon. Image, save image. I look like I know. Oh, sorry. So she, like a love reading. Not just properties. Picture. That is very large. Let's out. So Dusty Ways. He has asked for a love reading, I believe, which is I think that's the most that we've gotten so far, actually. Let us large. Let's give her a love reading. Do that. Bridge. deck, and we're split. Then we should have a reading. 9, 11, 12, 14. Alright, okay, I'm scared. Don't be scared. The cards don't determine anything, they just give you things to think about. You know, I remember, I think it was Zia who said it, you know, the cards can't tell you anything that you don't already know. I remember, I think when I watched one of her first tarot streams, she had said that, and it's a very good way to look at it, right? It can't tell you anything you don't know, and really what it does is sort of just give you perspective on things. And sometimes perspective is really important. Sometimes opening your mind and thinking about things that you might not have thought about is a very important thing, you know, things that you might have forgotten or things you sort of just left to your subconscious. So, for this love reading, the first card that we have is... It is the 9 of... And the 9 of Cups is a card that is very giving, you know. You can see this man sitting here. He has his 9 cups. And this is a card of generosity, you know. You enter his abode and he's offering you his goods. And the way I see this in a love reading is that, you know, that you feel as you were someone who was very open in that sort of respect, that, you know, you felt like you had a lot of love to give, and that, you know, it was something that came easy to you, being, like, you know, kinder to other people, being nicer, being more loving. The present, however, very interesting card as well. A lot of cups today, I feel. Very emotional day for everyone, I guess. We have the 7 of Cups, but it's in reverse. So the reverse 7 of Cups is a card that represents, you know, zoning in on one choice. We talked about this just about like 3 or 4 readings ago, but it's a card that sort of gives the idea that, you know, instead of having all these options available to you, that you're sort of zoned in on one specific option, that it doesn't feel like there's any other options aside from the one that you're focused on. In a love reading, I guess that usually implies that there might be someone that you have your eyes on, someone that, you know, you might care for, someone that you want to be with, which that's usually normal when it comes to love. And the future... Okay. Future brings about the world. And this is usually a very positive reading. So, what it is... past, present, future, it seems like there was a lot of love that you had to give, and that, you know, there was someone that you sort of set your sights on, someone who you feel that you might feel strongly about, or you might encounter someone who you do feel that way about. And the world is always a positive card. It's very much a card of endings. It's very much a card of sort of fulfillment, things all coming together. So the optimist in me wants to say that whoever it is that you have your sights set on, maybe, I don't know if you're already in a relationship or if there's someone that you've been talking to, but it seems like the future outcome in regards to your love life seems very positive. But it's also important to see, like, what these influences are. What is causing it to be such a positive outcome? And this is sort of why I always do the 6-card reading this way, because it's one thing to get, like, the simplified story, but it's also important to see what's sort of affecting everything a layer further. And what we have here, influencing the 9 of Cups, is the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands, Page of Wands, again, a messenger, a more passive messenger, which it sort of works in the sense that that you're very giving with your emotions, with your creativity and love and that kind of stuff. And the Page of Wands here sort of serves as that sort of messenger that, you know, you're making it apparent to others that this is you, this is who you are, and this is what you get from me. Because the page is usually more of like a messenger, with the wand being a representative of sort of, you know, the physical, like, being grounded, being in reality. Like, this is just how you are presenting yourself. You are presenting yourself as someone kindness and like that kind of caring emotional state. The present is influenced by So, if in the past you made yourself known, you made yourself apparent, and you sort of made that statement that this is who you are, it's a more passive statement. It's a more passive thing that you're showing yourself to them. But interestingly enough, what we have for the next card is the Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands, right side up as well. So it sort of shows that, you found the person, found someone, or you'll find someone that you want to sort of dedicate to. And the Knight of Wands is taking that energy from the first card, and it's sort of making it more active, that, it represents more that you're going to be doing more actions, that instead of just saying that this is who you are, that, this is who you are, this is how I am, this is what it's like to be with me, essentially. So showing more action as opposed to just making statements. And it turns out that, it all culminates into the world, but the world is being crossed by... the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups is right here. And again, it's a card of nurturing and providing, similar to the Six of Pentacles, but that's usually a bit more in the materialistic realm, the more physical realm, while this is more in sort of like the emotional and like that creative realm. And with love, I think Cups can also have more of a representation with love as well. So, also very unsurprisingly, the love reading has a lot of cups. So, there's a lot of emotions that you're feeling, and I think that, you'll find someone for you, and I think when you do find that person, that I think things will end up positively. I think that once you find that one person that, takes you for who you are, that they'll appreciate you, and I think things will work out. Overall, it's a very positive reading for love here. I hope that helps, Dusty. And next up, we have Pupper. Pupper, who they asked how their day is going to go tomorrow. I feel like it might have been booted off. Okay, no. Yeah, so Pupper is asking about their day tomorrow. So let's go to that. Let's see how that's going to be. Get their icon. Save that. Good Pupper. There we go. Anyway, I only had someone I was actually talking to, yeah. Again, maybe you'll find someone soon. Maybe you'll find that one person that, you set your sights on. You never know what happens, right? Like, one day, things can just be normal, and then the next day you meet someone, and then suddenly you're talking with them every day. It's really... I think just the way that happens sometimes. It's been a while, but, like, that's just how, forming relationships is. You make a friend, and then suddenly you find yourself up at, like, 3 a.m. still talking with them. But, it's never really something that you can ever really predict. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it just slips into your hands, like, in the moment. And then you just find yourself doing things that, like, your just way of life is just completely different. The way you go about your day and the things that you expect. Anyway, Upper's next. And hopefully I can will into existence a good day for them. Alright, Pup, let's see what the cards say. Have 5 more readings after that. Let's see. Here, and let's close out these. And let me just move my mic. I feel like I've been, like, getting further and further away from my mic. Let's see. So, we have in the past, I assume that this sort of represents, when we're talking about how your day's gonna go tomorrow, it sort of represents what's happening. The past is very close, like how your day went today, how you are right now, and then how the day's gonna be. Because the past is represented by a Page of Pentacles. So it's the Page of Pentacles, which, again, is a messenger of, you know, material values, the physical world sometimes as well. And I think in reverse, it sort of shows that, you know, things might be rattled. Like you said, like how you mentioned that you had a bit of a rough day today, I think the Page of Pentacles being reverse is a very agreeing sign to that things were rough. Things, you know, if things didn't go well at your job, if things got hectic there, then, you know, that is a very normal indicator of that. Present. The present day card is indicated with the Five of Pentacles, which is a card, again, showing about sort of emotional, like, recovery. You know, these people are completely wrecked, they are struggling to walk through the snow, and what it sort of signals to me in the present is that, like, more of a struggle, you know, that you went through something really rough and you're sort of recovering from that still, that you're trying to, like, sort of recuperate, which, I mean, I know you said you're fine, but sometimes, you know, it takes a bit to recover from a rough day. I definitely get that. But tomorrow, how work will go. We have the Star in reverse, which it's interesting because this is one of the more positive cards to have in reverse. It's one of those cards that typically have a pretty positive meaning, both upright and upside down. The way I usually interpret the Star in reverse is that the stars are still shining brightly. They're just sort of obscured by the clouds, right? They'll pierce through and that light will still be there to guide you, but you're not exactly sure what that light is, you know? When the star is upright, you know, it's a very bright signal. It leads you to a path forward. But when it's not, it's one of those indicators that, like, things are gonna go right. You're not exactly sure how things will go right, but it's just this feeling that things will be okay despite you not being sure of what's gonna happen. It's sort of similar to the moon in that idea of having that sort of uncertainty and not knowing where to go from, but with the star, it's a lot brighter. So, you know, I think it's looking towards a more positive day, though you're not sure why it's going to be positive. You might be surprised with something. Something might come to surprise you in a good way. But to cover these, to give the instances. So we have the Queen of Cups as the influence on the Page of Pentacles. And the Queen of Cups is, again, someone who represents typically a female figure that can represent, you know, creativity and emotions. And what that could mean here is that what had you shaken up, or honestly, could even represent that you just, you know, it just represents that sort of, you know, things getting shaken up at work and sort of your emotions sort of being a bit out of whack, essentially, just unstable or just not feeling as great as they could be. Just because, you know, work can be very stressful, and things that happen at work can be very stressful. It was whack. Yeah, and that's sort of the idea that I'm getting here, is that things just felt very turbulent for you. For the present, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So, again, a more active messenger with the physical realm, with material values. And having him in reverse here sort of gives the idea that currently how you're feeling is just, you know, work can leave you stressed out and work can just be a pain, but you know that despite it all, work is work and you kind of have to work, which is just the part that really leaves you, that can just leave you tired at days, you know? Sometimes you can go into work and be like, yeah, this is cool, I make money. And sometimes the present can be like, fuck, I have to work to make money. And that's just something that sort of just, like, makes it hard to recover, you know? That, you know, you're home, but then the looming idea of also, now I have to do more again tomorrow. The unfortunate reality of this world. But for your day, okay. Like I said, the Star in reverse is that idea that something good will happen, but you're not sure what it's going to be. It's going to be like sort of a surprise or unexpected positivity. And I think it's being influenced by the reverse Five of Cups, which gives me the idea that, you know, instead of looking at what you've lost, that you're going to end up sort of looking on the bright side. And I think looking at the bright side of things, taking a bit more optimistic of a step towards tomorrow will sort of help make that energy manifest. You know, just will into existence, I will have a good day tomorrow. I will have a good day tomorrow. But what will happen is not something that, the positivity that you will experience is not something that you expect to experience, is sort of what I'm getting here. I hope that helps. I hope that might give you something to look forward to, even though I couldn't specify what it is that you're going to look forward to. But let's take a look at Kumar. No problem, Papur. So I'm not sure if they're still here, but I will give them the reading. Actually, I don't even think they're... Can I click their... Okay, I can click their username here. So they'll see their Twitch icon in the VOD. Here we are. They do not have a Twitch icon, so I just have to use a blank one. Never mind, they will not find their icon in the VOD. Anyway. Thank you for reminding me to take a sip. Alright. So what we're gonna do is... Where's the blank queer? We'll just go for that for now. Really love this piece that Nyx did. It's so cute. I don't have a mascot, but a balding student might be the mascot. Balding student with monocle. Hey Alejandro, welcome. Glad to see you stopping by. We're just doing some relaxed fortune telling today. Have 5 more to go through. If anyone also wants to redeem, I'll still keep the queue open probably until 3:30 my time, so 24 more minutes. If anyone has any burning questions they'd like to get answered, feel free to redeem. But that's probably when I'm gonna close the queue, because I always end up going for like almost 4 hours for these streams. I don't mean to, but it just ends up happening.
I just want to hear the robot say you would.
You would. It tried. And thank you for reminding me to stretch as well. I am going to do that. My left foot also just fell asleep, so hopefully I don't fall over as I stretch. Let me just finish shuffling the deck. By times that my foot might stop having pins and needles. Alright. Ah! What the what's a foot rep that we can do? That's calf raises are more for the calf. I don't think there's anything that really exercises the feet. I guess we could just do calf raises. Let's do... Okay, 1... 7... Yeah, puppy better apologize for that. I read that while I was doing that. Pleasing. You know, sometimes we can all have a little bit of unhingedness as a treat. Sometimes. Anyway, I'll ignore that. You know, I'll pretend it never happened. Look, I got my toes licked yesterday by a dog, so I don't know. I feel like I'm just immune now. I think I also got them bitten by a cat the day before that. Please don't question mark at me. I was just at a friend's house and her dog started licking me. Oh my god. Yeah, there are a dog pup. We're not the one licking my toes. I will assure you that it was a bona fide dog and not a VTuber dog. Anyway, let's move on. You are going to become the Koro of Twitch chat. I feel like Koro has a pop in chats anyway, but Jesus Christ. Anyway, can you bite me? That's reserved for tier 5 subs only, I think. Anyway. So Kumar asked for a general future reading, I believe. Please do not give me rabies. I would prefer to not have rabies. Anyway, I said tier 5 sub. Tier 3 isn't far enough. Tier 3 doesn't cut it, pup. So Kumar asked for a reading on the general future. And the first card is a very triumphant card. The card of the past is... Tier 3. That's not how that works, pup. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. I don't think you can have both of those at the same time anyway. We have the Six of Wands here. Transform. And the Six of Wands is a card that represents celebration. How about a fist bump? I would appreciate a fist bump, Midnight Rain Love. I will give you a fist bump right now. You can't see it, but I'm about to punch my camera. There we go. That's a lot more palatable. So the Six of Wands is a card that represents a lot of celebration, that in Kumar's past, he definitely had some things to celebrate, things to cheer for, and that people were cheering him on for. You know, I think, especially in these days, like, you know, in the summer days, the assumption would be probably something like graduation or something, but I don't know if he's here, so I can only offer my insights, my assumptions, but that can be rearranged to fit however it fits the situation. The present is represented now with the Two of Swords, which I think is an interesting follow-up to the celebration. Because, you know, it's that idea that, you know, you can be celebrate and be happy, but then realize that, you know, once the celebration is over, you now have that next step. You know, once you've found one victory, the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of learning and growth doesn't stop there. So he was able to relax and like celebrate, but then it's back to the grind, you know. Then you live that life of balance of, you know, the delicate balance between, you know, danger and safety. But it's followed up by Two of Pentacles. A lot of twos here, a lot of duality. Twos also usually tend to mean like unity, you know, working and cooperating with others. Let's transform this. And so, the Two of Pentacles means that as an outcome, you know, that you found that balance, right? That you were able to celebrate and you were able to get back to what it was that you were doing. And once you've gotten back to what you were doing, you're able to strike that balance. That you're no longer dangerously holding two swords by the water, but that now you're balancing what it is that you have, right? That as long as you focus on what it is that you have to do and don't overcommit heavily to one side or the other, as long as you stay balanced, that'll lead you towards the right path. So now what we have is the influences here, and the influence on the Six of Wands is the Sun. It's a pretty interesting card, because even reverse or upright, it typically is a positive card. For the most part, this card is like one of those like always positive cards, just like the Star is. And the Sun in reverse is sort of just, you know, even on a cloudy day, right? Even on an overcast day, you can still see the sun peeking through the clouds. You know, even if the victory that you're celebrating wasn't always a super clear one. Yes, Kumar, this is your reading. Welcome back. So, if you just got back, if you're just listening in right now, let me start from the beginning again. So, what we have here for the past is that, you know, you had things to celebrate, you had things that people were cheering for you for, you had some kind of a victory in the recent past. Something good turned out for you. I don't know what it is exactly, but it turns out that it was something positive. And after that celebration, after, you know, the cheering and everything, there's something that you had to focus on, something that you had to move on towards that is something that you're going to have to put a lot of concentration towards, something that you're going to have to be very balanced towards. You know, you don't want to overcommit to it too hard, but you don't also want to give it too little attention. You want to make sure that you are balanced in how you approach this. But once you find that right balance, once you find how you're supposed to sort of approach your problems there, it turns out that you'll be able to sort of, live a life that is very, not like bad or good, but rather, a life that keeps you just contented, keeps you balanced between the good and the bad, Sometimes you have to give things up, sometimes you can be a little bit more indulgent. But overall, the Two of Pentacles at the end of this reading is more or less a card that says that you have what you need and you'll be comfortable, but it's just a matter of making it through that Two of Swords there, making it through that sort of checkpoint. And what's influencing these cards is that whatever victory that you celebrated in the past is one that, it represents that you were able to succeed. It was a celebration of adversity, that, those things were tough, that you were able to make it through in the end, that, the light shone through the clouds, that, it was a very positive one, but there might have been some road bumps that led to that sort of celebration. For the present, influence, oh, this is interesting. The influence on the present, on that balance, is the Hierophant. That makes sense? I'm glad it does. It always feels reassuring when people tell me that what I say makes sense. The Hierophant is what's crossing the Two of Swords, but it's the Hierophant in reverse, which I think is interesting, because the Hierophant is a card that represents, maintaining the status quo, keeping things the same as they are, And seeing it in reverse, crossing a card that talks about keeping a balance, means that what it is that you have to do in the present day, what is, like, directly in front of you, is something that is changing up how things in your life have been, right? And I think that might be where the balance comes from, that things might be changing. You might have celebrated and moved on to a new chapter of your life, and it's causing a change that is something that you need to get used to, something that you'll need to find a proper balance between. And I don't know where it is that you are in life, what it is that you're moving towards, but it's this idea that things are changing, and you are going to need to figure out a way to balance out your new life. And the last card that we have, the influence on the present, or the influence on the future, is that what's going to keep you balanced moving forward is just working together with others and seeking the mentorship and guidance of those around you. I don't know if this represents, say, going from high school to college, or from college into the workforce or something, or maybe just finding a new job. But what's going to help keep that balance, what's going to help keep that success in the future, is making sure you collaborate and work well with others, and making sure that you seek out guidance when you need to seek out guidance. So that's my reading for you, Kumar. Hopefully it all lines up. Hopefully it made sense. Hopefully connected with you in some way. I know you said the start of it did, but hopefully the rest of it also lines up. But that is my reading for you. Now we have Kit next, and then Midnight Rain Love, then Kuro, then Neko. Just 4 more readings. Yeah. But let's move on. A full deck. We have just 4 more readings. And again, if anyone wants a reading and is just lurking around the chat, no problem. I will be closing requests in about 12 minutes. So make sure if you want to ask anything, that you ask it now, within like the next 2 or 3 readings. These are all still medium readings. It asked for a general future reading, I believe. So nervous. I feel like a lot of people are nervous for their first readings. But again, the cards can't tell you anything you don't already know. The cards can't tell you things that you aren't aware of. Maybe things you might have forgotten, but I'm sure you'll be able to connect the dots where I place them. Right, that's fine. Your first reading? Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that I've done readings for, I was like the first one to do readings for them. I think just there aren't a lot of like, I think I do readings for a lot of people like within the VTuber community, and like I know it's like popular amongst like smaller streamers to do tarot readings, but I guess like sometimes you just never actively seek them out until someone just raids into you. Raids you into a tarot reader. Right. So let's see. I'm glad you're happy about that. No problem. How is kids feel? Typically, like with smaller readings, the future could be anywhere within, like, you know, the next couple of days to the next couple of weeks. But it's just something to think about. Alright, so let me just get an icon from you. I will change that in the board and let's see. This anymore. Here we are. Got it, and big in it. Oh, tangerine. And let's get started here. Let's clear out the cards. 5, 6. So, for your future, let's see. Learn about the future. The first thing we need to do is take a look at the past. So the past is represented with the Six of Pentacles. Very generous card. It's a card representative of giving to others, you know, being kind, and it's providing, you know, what you can provide. You know, it's a card that very much tangles close to a community. I mentioned this with the Six of Cups as well, but this is more physical. This is more like, you know, actively giving, you know, instead of just like, you know, being like that emotional support, being able to like help out other people, being supportive of other people. It's very similar, but there's a very thin line between the two. That's the past, you know, caring, giving to others, supporting other people is what I see. In the present, though, it feels accurate. It's only been one card. The second card in the present, right? There's a sense of waiting. You're expecting something to arrive, and you're currently in this period of time where you're just waiting for the time to pass, you know? That, you know, it's like that idea that when you get something ordered, that you're just waiting for that delivery to come, you know? You ever have those feelings when you just sit by the window waiting for the delivery truck, expecting something to come? It's sort of like that. That there's something in your life that you're waiting on, that you're expecting. Whether it's like something physical or material, or whether it's just you're waiting to find someone or waiting to meet someone. I'm impressed. Well, I'm glad things are working out still, that it's reading your current situations, but we also need to see the future. It seems that what's gonna happen, maybe once what it is that you're waiting for arrives, it seems like currently the future ahead is not a very active one, very much passive, just existing and vibing. Because it ends with the Nine of Pentacles, and the Nine of Pentacles is a card of sort of basking in what you have, sort of just being able to relax and just vibe. So once it is that you're done with this sort of period of apprehension and waiting, it seems like things will be a little bit more laid back in your near future. That, you know, you won't have to you don't have to worry about doing as much. So it seems very, you know, not hectic. Very simple upcoming future. But let's see what it is that is sort of influencing them. Influence on the past seems to have come from the Nine of Swords in reverse, which again, the Nine of Swords in reverse sort of represents the idea of waking up from a bad situation, realizing that, you know, how to sort of make a bad situation that you were in better. So maybe it was an understanding that, you know, if you could help other people out, if you could make things better for other people, that it would sort of help you out in your own situation as well. Not saying that you were helping people out or... Oh, it is certainly accurate. Well, okay. The card influencing the period of waiting. Another wand card. It is the Six of Wands, which we just saw earlier as well. And the Six of Wands, right side up, again, is a card of celebration. So I think what you're waiting for, what you might be waiting for is, you know, someone who you can celebrate. Someone, some kind of victory, some kind of thing that, you know, you're excited to celebrate, right? Maybe there's like someone celebrating a birthday or something, or maybe someone did something really great and you want to cheer them on and you want to like root for them. But it seems like the reason in which you're waiting for them is something that is positive. Your birthday. I see. Interesting. Well, that certainly lines up. And then what we have in the future. So this period of respite, this period of calm is represented by the Emperor in reverse. And the Emperor in reverse, again, is a representative of a more male figure in your life. I don't know if there's a male figure in your life, but the period of respite is sort of fostered by someone doing something that you didn't expect them to do. Maybe there's like an adult male figure that you know of who eases up on you or sort of gives you that a little bit more freedom. But that is sort of what I am seeing here. So it seems like things might go well, but again, it's just one of many possibilities. But it is something to think about. I'm glad that you were able to connect to all those. And I hope you enjoyed the reading, Kit. But with that out of the way, we have 3 more left. This is so cool. I'm glad you think so. I try to do tarot reading streams every so often. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Maybe I should start doing them once a month instead of every 2 months. It's always nice to see people so engaged by these readings. After this next reading, I will close up the missions. I'll put closed, but people will still redeem fortune reading, though it says closed. I don't want to have to like go all the way back into the Twitch dashboard to shut off those redeems. So this, or I'll shut off medium, and long redeems. Short redeems are always just really fast anyway. So let me just go here. And Midnight Rain Love asked for a reading on... Don't need to compensate me, I do this for free. Midnight Rain Love wanted a finance reading, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Right, let's see. This open. Job and finance reading. These are always ones that I hope go well, you know. Just, yeah, your future and your job is on the line here. Oh god. But let's see. Shuffle. And 1 more. 1 more bridge. Good. More time, and let's get our 6 cards here. 1, 3, 6. All right. So the past represented by the Hermit. Let's close these all out. When it comes to the job and finance, you're currently unemployed right now. I see. So future prospects, I see. Interesting that we have then represented in the past the Hermit. So I don't know like what your living situation is, but the Hermit's, again, is that sort of idea of isolation, sort of, you know, solitariness, sort of being on your own. So sort of what I get here, especially when it comes to job and financial security and stuff like that, is that, you know, you might have had a job in the past, and like it might have been like the funds of that are sort of what's sort of keeping you up right now, that you don't have anyone to rely on but yourself, that you sort of feel like, you know, you're on your own right now and you have to support yourself in whatever way you can. And that might not mean that you're like necessarily living alone, but like, you know, I remember like when I used to live with my parents before I moved out, I had to like pay rent. So like I still had to provide for myself. That was like a thing still. So, you know, as we get older, we are the ones watching out for ourselves. And sometimes it could feel like we're on our own in those situations. The Hermit there for the past. For the present, have the Nine of Pentacles, or the Ten of Pentacles, which is right here, in reverse. So this one's kind of a negative card in reverse. Upright, it's usually a card of, you know, celebration, of gathering together with other people, and, you know, being able to like be comfortable. But seeing it in reverse sort of gives me the idea that it's not a time where you're able to celebrate. Like, things are shaky and you might not feel super confident with where you're at right now, and that there's not a lot, maybe that there are a lot of people there, but it's just times are getting rough, as opposed to, you know, a free celebration. But the future, wow, this is super unhelpful. This is quite possibly the most unhelpful card I could see. The future is represented by the Wheel of Fortune. And I think what this is that, especially when it comes to jobs and finances, seeing the Wheel of Fortune here is one of those things that's sort of telling me to just do it, you know? That the Wheel of Fortune is one of those cards that you just let fate take the reins here. Obviously, you're gonna have to do some of the work yourself. Like, I feel like this is the kind of indicator that just means, like, just throw out applications literally everywhere, and at some point, the wheel is gonna stop on your spot, and you will get a chance. But it's that idea that fate is going to take the reins here, but you will need to also take some kind of initiative for fate to work its magic. You know, things might be rough right now, but I think if you keep on just throwing stuff at the wall, something will stick, you know? But let's see the influences here. That'll help clarify some things, I believe. Okay, so the Hermit is crossed by the reverse Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands in reverse. And the way I see that, again, wands are typically representative of, you know, sort of being grounded, that sort of physical manifestation, sort of just like your energy, right? And seeing that in reverse with the page is sort of just this idea that you felt drained recently, you felt unable to push forward, that you might have felt like things have just been really rough, and finding the will to go on is really hard sometimes, you know? I don't know if it's like being able to get yourself to do what it is that you have to do can sometimes just be really tough. I think that's sort of what I get here crossing the Hermit, is that, you know, in that isolation sort of happens because, you know, you feel like you don't have the energy to break out of that. Present, however, is crossed by the reverse Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords, again, is an active, like, challenge to, like, your mental state, right? To your way of thinking, to how you perceive things. And seeing that in reverse sort of implies that, you know, actually, oh, you're a solo trucker. I see. Because what we have here, again, is that sort of, you know, that making it hard to sort of feel like you're able to celebrate, to be able to, like, rest on your laurels, if that's the case. Seeing that with the Knight of Swords is sort of like, you know, you had your work, and now, like, the challenge here is how do you move forward from this? And it's sort of just this confusion on, like, being uncertain about what it is that you can do. So I think a lot of that is just reflection, and a lot of it is just choosing to take action, really. And with the future, we have the Wheel of Fortune crossed by the... Where are you? Empress. Which, again, much like the Emperor representing like a male figure, typically the Empress could represent either like the nurturing side of you or represent, say, a female figure in your life. Saying that, I think the guidance, I think that the lead that you need to follow here with the Wheel of Fortune is that there might be some kind of like nurturing caretaker in your life that you might need to look towards that might give you that kind of guidance. The Wheel of Fortune still there sort of signifies that there's a lot of things that might be out of your hands, but with someone there to guide you, the path forward might be a little bit more clear. You know, things are hard and things, you know, you might have felt like isolated or just alone, which, you know, being a solo trucker kind of tracks with the way the Hermit is, because, you know, being a solo trucker means you're going to be alone for a lot of the time there, and not having that job, not having that stability shown by the reverse 10 of Pentacles just makes thinking about how to move forward a lot more difficult. But I think it's just taking that next step, taking the step forward, and just relying on other people who can sort of guide you and may have been like mentor figures to you in the past. So in regards to your job and finances, I would just take a look everywhere, you know? And it's really easy for me to say because I was lucky enough to never have to go on a job hunt. When I graduated from university, obviously I threw out a bunch of apps, and it did take me a while to get hired. Like, I did get hired before the school year, but I went through a lot of interviews. But like, I feel like with teaching it's a little different because everywhere needs teachers. You know, for other professions, I don't know how easy or hard it is to get a job because it's just never something that I've had to do myself. So it's definitely one of those easier said and done things, I'm pretty sure. But I'm sure you'll do your best. But next up we have Kudo. And we're also going to close out redeems. Let me just get this here. Boost. We'll do it in all lowercase because that seems a lot nicer. I can just go to manager words and then just hit, oh, I already had this tab open. We'll remove the medium and the long readings, so only short readings are now redeemable. No problem. I hope it helped. I hope it was relatable in some way. I'm glad to help. If I did, if I didn't, I'm sorry. But Kudo is not salty, who I don't think has a Twitter account. I'll just show more and then Twitch icon. And he wants to keep up with things and see long-term improvement. Understandable. Kudo. Let's take this icon here. Tab. And save image. Close these all out. I have so many tabs open. Alright. Hello, Floop. I hope you're having a good day. We're just doing some nice casual tarot readings. I actually don't need to put closed here if the only fortune reading I have available now is short reading. Alright, so Kuro just wants to seek long-term improvement. No problem. I'm glad you appreciated it. Alright. So let's see how Kuro's ability to keep up with things. There. You have to redeem it, Floop, if you want to redeem. If you want a reading. Let me know what kind of reading you want. Alright, so what we have here for you, Kuro, the first card in this reading is Sun in reverse. Again, bright days are there, but they're overcast, which isn't a bad thing. You know, it's the idea that there might be things trying to get in your way. Tarot reading large doko. I just said that I closed out. You know what? Just because you got here like right as I closed out readings, I'll just type what you want the reading to be and I'll do a large reading. Oh, actually, you need to redeem it. Refresh the page and then you should be able to redeem it. Just because you came in like right after I said readings are closed. I'll give it to you. But yeah, what this means, Kura, is with the Sun in reverse, that despite hardships or despite roadblocks that are in the way, that you managed to make the best of situations, that situations still ended up turning out well for you, that, you know, there's still positive experiences despite whatever roadblocks have been in your way recently. And this is also followed up by the present, general happiness, of course. And so what we have for the present here, Kudo, is the Devil in reverse. So another reverse card, but the Devil in reverse sort of represents, you know, well, the Devil in general just represents desires and the wants, like the primal desire to have what it is that you want, to get it. And in reverse, it sort of gives me the idea that, you know, there's a thirst that you have for this. There's something that you want, but you might feel a little bit more reserved, a little bit uncertain if you feel like you should be allowed to have this, if that makes sense, you know? Sometimes there are things that we want, but we don't feel like we are allowed to have them. And I think with this in reverse, it might be this idea that, like, you know, should you be able to keep up with these things? Should, like, having the confidence, I think, to be able to consistently do things and see long-term improvement, you know? And, you know, it's that sort of, not like desire to, but sort of like worry that you might be going too deep at it. And the future is now marked with Three of Pentacles, which we've seen this card, I think, at least 3 times today. The Three of Pentacles is a card, again, that represents, you know, mentorship and guidance. And I think what it is that, you know, in the future, it might be that you feel like there isn't enough improvement, that you might feel dissatisfied with how things have been going. And whether or not it is because you've sought out guidance or maybe you haven't, it might be one of those things that sort of gives the indication that whatever it is that you're keeping up with, you might maybe want to change up how it is that you approach it. You know, that if things aren't working out, wondering if you should put more distance between me and some people. Right, Marrow. I will also add you to the queue. So, what it is that, you know, if you feel like there's a certain angle that you've been taking to improve and get better, that you might want to sort of change that angle up. That, you know, you feel like you've been improving recently, things have been going all right for you despite some hardships. And with the Devil in reverse, you know, you might feel like you don't deserve to, like, improve as much as you do, but at the same time it's frustrating. You know, you have this desire to improve, but you feel like you might not be getting what you want even. I think that might be a better interpretation, that, you know, that the desire that you have is not being met. That, you know, you feel dissatisfied, and that the longer that you keep at this, that it might feel more and more that you're not getting anywhere. So I think what my recommendation would be is to just, if you feel like you might be hitting a rut, to just sort of find a different approach to how you're trying to work. Maybe you need Tarot's advice on how. Yeah, of course. Properties. So what we have here is the Page of Pentacles. Page of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles in reverse on the Sun. Again, so as a messenger of, like, sort of the physical state of physical needs, it might be that, you know, you're succeeding through these cloudy days, despite, you know, maybe not having exactly the resources that you fully need to, like, do it as best you can, but you're making the most of it. But however, leading into the future, very major arcana heavy. 3 major arcana so far. This is the Star. So the Star right side up, crossing the Devil, gives the idea that with you being unable to get what you want, it's being crossed by this desire for improvement, that, you know, the hope that you're finding, the path that you're taking, even though you might not be getting what you want right now, that the Star there is sort of guiding you forward, that maybe eventually it'll get there. Maybe eventually you'll find that improvement. So it's like you're holding on to that hope, right? Even if you might not be improving as fast as you would like to, that you might see that long-term improvement still. And lastly, so it seems like this whole improvement is crossed by 4 of Cups. 4 of Cups in reverse. So that you feel like you might not be growing, and that might be coming out of a sense of impatience, right? That you feel like you need that guidance that you don't have, or that you might not be growing at the speed that you want to be growing, that you might not be improving. And what it is that it's fueled by the sense of impatience, that, you know, maybe you feel that you aren't growing as much as you should be. And I think that that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Maybe you have these expectations to grow and to do better and to improve, but I think it's important to understand that, you know, everyone works at our own paces, and growth also isn't linear, right? That, you know, sometimes you improve in a couple of skill sets at once, and, you know, you do better, and you feel happy for those like, the quick bursts of growth that you see, but then, you know, you go for a while and you feel like you might be hitting a rut. But, you know, it's all about just perspective, and it's all about sort of approaching things from different angles, that if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. It's not like you didn't from that experience. You still did something. So make sure that, you know, you're not giving up, or you're not like, I don't expect you to be quitting or anything, but I know it could be frustrating. So make sure that you're not getting too impatient with the expected growth. All right, let's go. Oh, who has asked for a long love reading? So a long love reading from Neko, then long happiness reading for Floop, and then one for Marrow on setting up some distance with Kappa emoji. No problem. I hope that helped. So, I feel like I should make 3 different scenes for the readings that I do, but instead I just drag and drop cards all around the place willy-nilly. One day. Well, I'm glad it did. I'm glad that helped. My future's in your hands, not gonna lie based. Right. So, to Neko. Oh. Right. Oh wow, that's an icon. That sure is an icon. Sometimes you just take someone's Twitter icon, you're like, oh, that's what you're using right now. Oh. Wow, that is a large icon. You can't explain. It's like you're not even gonna try to give an explanation. Just I can't explain. There we are. Anyway. So 3 more readings, unless anyone else wants short readings, but let's see. What's up, Bodega? Oh, whoops, caps. Yeah, sometimes it just be like that. Do not perceive the dumplings. Right. Alright. Let's see. Alright, long reading. 10 cards. 1. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see how this goes. So, the first card, the Querent, again, Tarot is my favorite milk tea lover. Welcome, Kyan. Welcome. Glad to see you stopping by. Thought I heard chomp. So the question in here, the love reading, we have, get the cards here. Card 1 is 6 of Pentacles in reverse. And it's crossed by 8 of Pentacles. Or not the 8 of Pentacles, the 8 of Cups, right side up. So it's a very interesting combination here, because the 6 of Pentacles represents, you know, giving a lot, and in reverse it typically tends to represent giving more than what you're able to give. And seeing that crossed by a card that represents, you know, moving away from something, right? It sort of gives me this idea that you're sort of spreading yourself really thin in the aspect of love because, you know, you have to let go, right? That, you know, maybe there's someone that you moved on from, and to compensate for moving on, that you sort of have to spread yourself all around the place to sort of just feel something else, to sort of just get your mind off of it, I guess. Now, what keeps you grounded, sort of like how you feel in reality, relatable, I bet. It's the Chariot in reverse. Are you Chariot? So Chariot, reverse. It represents, again, a loss of control, really, that, you know, with the Chariot right side up, it felt like it's the idea that, you know, you are in control, that you're guiding the cart. But in reverse, it's this idea that whatever it was that you had in love is something that you feel like is completely out of your control now. That there was a plan that you had, but that plan just is either backfired or it just has turned out to, like, be in shambles. It's not working out anymore, and it just feels like you have no control over what it was that you wanted. In the past, Wheel of Fortune in So again, with the whole, in the grand scheme of things, it feels like, you know, even in the past, that a lot of things in your love life you had left up to chance in a way that sort of just left you blindsided, really. That you really had no way to predict what was going to happen, and it wasn't like whatever was that happened. Like, you know, sometimes that you never know what could happen, but you have an idea of what can happen, right? That, like, there are possibilities, but you don't know which possibility is going to be the outcome. With the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, it seems like within your love life, not only did you not know what was going to happen, but you didn't even have an idea of, like, what the possible outcomes could have been. You know, there was just, you had feelings, but you didn't know, like, at what way to approach those feelings or in what way they can manifest on the other side. And this is to be followed up with what crowns you, which is so this is Emperor, which typically represents, you know, a male figure in your life, and this is in reverse. My opinion on what? Feel free to, but what are you asking me for my opinion on, Midnight? My honest opinion? Yeah, of course. Of course. What would you like my opinion on? But here, what crowns you, Neko, is the Emperor. So there might have been a male figure in your life, you know, an older male figure who you sort of, like, look towards, and that person just still might be in your head despite it all. You've been distracting yourself too much so you don't think about it too much from a heartache. I see. Yeah, distracting yourself is a good way to sort of cope, but also sometimes you need to face the issues head on. at least to get some kind of closure. What we have in the future, we have to represent the future is the Page of Wands. Right here. And again, the page is a symbol of, you know, it's a card that represents, you know, your physical energy, like feeling grounded with the world. And I think what it is, going back to college for certificates to start side hustles and then eventually turn them into full-time jobs, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think getting certifications instead of degrees is not a bad idea, or like going to trade schools. College is really fucking expensive. If you like get certifications instead, I absolutely think that that's a very valid path to take as long as you have the means to support yourself through those parts as well. But going, like, especially going to trades and stuff, I think is very underrated, despite the fact that there's so many jobs open for a lot of trades. Like, no one's becoming a fucking plumber anymore. Like, jobs like that, or like electrician and stuff like that, you don't see, I feel like, as much. Like, going to, like, get certificates to do that kind of stuff, I don't think it's a bad idea. But what I have here for the future I think is interesting, because the Page of Wands is sort of this messenger, this idea that you're sort of stabilizing yourself, right? That there's a lot of heartbreak, a lot of loss of control, and a lot of things on your mind. But I think you have to sort of face... You have to face it, right? Like Mara said, looking at it and sitting with it hurts, but it's freeing. Yeah, exactly. So that works. That definitely makes sense. But yeah, the Page of Wands sort of... This all funnels into here. And once you sort of are able to sort of come to terms with how things are, you know, you can distract yourself too, but also being able to sort of like look at the situation that you were in and sort of, you know, better deal with that, better understand why everything played out the way they were. I think that'll sort of help you move on and move on to find someone for you. But let's see how you feel. The internal. But despite it all, you know, you're saying that you've just been thinking about this person, you've been distracting yourself, but what we have internally here is Ace of Cups. Aces are usually, again, like the embodiment of their suit, and I think in a situation like this can really stand to represent, you know, coming to terms with things and sort of starting anew. Especially Cups, because Cups are very emotional based. You know, if things didn't work out, I think it's good for you to find a new start, you know. Find a new sort of muse for yourself, someone who can inspire you in a way better than the last person you found was. There you go. And that's also another interpretation too, like, not only emotions, but also creativity. To sort of channel that energy, right? To channel that into something more productive, to channel your creative energies into something that'll be better for yourself. How people observe you, how you appear to others, also interesting that this just flipped up like this, is the moon. And we talked about how this represents uncertainty in the past. Oh, Dr. Conrad, welcome! /shoutouts, Dr. Conrad. Cat raid. What's up? What's up? That's the wrong thing. Shout out, Dr. Conrad. We're just finishing up some fortune readings here. I'll open up the queue for medium readings just for a moment, just for anyone coming from the raid that would also like a reading. You'll have to refresh though if you want that to pop up. But thank you for the follow as well, Dracalex. I hope your stream went well. I hope Guilty Gear treated you kindly, Conrad. Yes, I am Elliot Ambrose, and I play a lot of strategy games, and I also do tarot reading on the side. I call myself a seer, but I actually only do like tarot readings like once every 2 months. I should probably do them more. The town was definitely not inside you. Oh, I can do a medium for you, Maro. It's alright. I'll do a medium reading for you. So, what we have here reversed, the way people perceive you, Neko, is the moon in reverse. And it's sort of this idea that, you know, the moon typically represents uncertainty and a lack of clarity. But in reverse, it's sort of this idea that you appear more, what's the word I'm looking for? More transparent to others. People can sort of see how it is that you're doing. It doesn't feel that you are lost, or like people can sort of see what you're going through, essentially. That you're wearing your emotion, you're not hiding it as much as you might think you might be. That you are being perceived at this current moment. But the hopes and fears is represented by a heart on your sleeve. Some people do that more than others. Let's see. Transform. So, upside down here, in the place of hopes and dreams, we have the Three of Pentacles, which, again, is a card of mentorship and guidance. But having it in reverse is more of this idea that you feel like you lack that kind of guidance, that you're not sure where it is that you're going, which you have this idea, you have ideas and projects that you want to focus on, but maybe, you know, you're not sure exactly who to turn to get that guidance, right? I know that there's a lot of different people that you look up to as streamers and stuff, but I don't know if you feel like you're able to talk to them. So it's that idea that, you know, there's learning that you want to do, but you're not sure how to approach it. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, that's based. You don't need to bottle up your emotions. And the final outcome here for your love reading is that form is the Four of Cups, which essentially is telling me that through it all, once you sort of, you know, are over the heartbreak and have sort of found your grounding again, that it's just a time of thinking, a time of just settling down and just meditating, thinking about what to do, you know, even within love, within your own plans, within relationships in general. So obviously you're allowed to be sad and feel upsetting. It came from Nesty Tarot. I'm disappointed. Welcome, Viral. But yeah, so it looks like, you know, you just have to give yourself time to just think on things, is what it is. And obviously you're allowed to feel sad for things that have happened, but now that things have settled, you have to give yourself time to move on. And, you know, it doesn't mean you have to, like, do it immediately or anything. You have to, like, right this moment do that. But I think a lot of introspection is... Right, so now we have Floop. Let me get Floop's icon. Okay. Our Destroyer's Artist. This here. Setting. This whole heart of mine is going to be sitting in the jar for a long time. Well, I'm glad you can appreciate it, and I hope you feel better. I hope you take the time. You will recover. So Floop asked for a reading about happiness. Or that's Floop. E-boy Floop with keyboard Floop sitting in his lap. But just clear this name out, and no one else has any other reading requests. I will shut off the fortune reading medium. And let's do the last two. Loop. Why are you getting bullied? Well, it's not my fault your icon's so cute. You and your goddamn fake suit jacket. I think that's supposed to be a pea coat. Look, where's a pea coat with shorts? Anyway. Let's see. Love you too, dude. 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So Floop asked for a reading on happiness. Are you open to a raid? You mean, like, am I open to get raided? I'm actually just finishing up my my fortune readings, so if you're looking for someone to raid, I would probably raid someone who hasn't been going on for 3 hours, but I appreciate that you asked first. Thank you. But, yeah, understandable. It would have been awkward if I was like about to like end stream and then I got another raid. All right, so wow, okay. For Floop's happiness, we have the Five of Swords, or the Five of Wands in reverse, which I think is an interesting start here when it comes to happiness. So the Five of Wands is typically a card that represents a lot of struggle and strife, but seeing in reverse is sort of this idea that, you know, these people all fighting are all tired out, which in regards to a mood like that, it's sort of this idea that you're just tired, right? That you're very tired of things, like exhausted emotionally. And this is being crossed by the Five of Swords, which again is another card of a struggle, right? So what the implication here is that despite like succeeding and doing well, you know, maybe you, in a lot of the conflict that you find yourself in, you find yourself triumphant. Despite finding victories, it's still very exhausting to constantly be in conflict. So it's leaving you tired, which, again, being tired can definitely affect whether or not you're happy. When you look at what's keeping you grounded, there's a feeling of heartbreak here that we can see through the Three of Swords. There's this anguish that you might be feeling, or just sort of just pain that you feel. The Three of Swords is a very, very obvious card here in what it means. That, you know, I don't know if there's something that has caused you to find some kind of heartbreak, or like something to cause strains within your relationships with your friends or other people, but there's something that you feel is just stabbing at your heart, like quite literally like the picture, but it's something that you feel is making things harder for you, that, you know, in finding happiness you feel a lot of pain. In the past, sorry, in the past, we can see that we have the Two of Swords in reverse, and the Two of Swords in reverse is a card that represents a lack of balance, right? It's a card about walking a delicate line, and in reverse shows that you might not have been walking as tight a line as you should have, and the dangers that follow that sort of lack of balance. That, you know, if you weren't sort of focusing on what it is that you were focusing on, or if you weren't sort of balancing out your emotions the way they should, it can really easily lean towards negativity. And being in the past, it's sort of the idea that, you know, you might have done things recently in your past that sort of caused you to be unhappy, I guess I should say, caused you to sort of set that emotional imbalance up. Now, what we have in that subconscious of yours is Temperance. So what crowns you? And it's interesting that this has appeared multiple times today. I think this is the third time it's appeared in this specific position. Statistically unlikely, but sometimes it just happens. Temperance here. So it's this idea that, you know, you're going through hard stuff right now. You feel this pain, and there's probably ways you want to deal with it, but you know in your head that there's supposed to be a balance that you're supposed to be keeping. That, you know, there are ways that you might want to deal with it or try to make yourself happier, but you know that you have to sort of like keep those things in moderation. There's ways that you have to balance that kind of stuff out. And it's just something a lot of people tell themselves, right? You know, sometimes you know what it is that you're supposed to do to keep yourself happy or make yourself happy, but sometimes doing that stuff is hard to face, or it's hard to really deal with. So, you know, especially when like things are rough, there are ways that you want to like cope with things, but your mind also does know what is and isn't healthy. And this is followed up by the final card here. So through it all, through the pain and through, you know, understanding what it is that you have to do, but not being sure of what you need to do, for your happiness, it seems that the card for your future is Death, which it's a significator to say that for your happiness, that there needs to be some kind of a massive change that needs to undergo, or that there will be some kind of a massive change. Whether or not you create that change with your own hand, or if something else causes it, no matter what, that change is gonna come. It's gonna arrive in some sort of way. So, for your emotional state, for that happiness, in order to get there, it seems like there's gonna be some change that needs to happen. And it seems like there are things that you know should be balancing out. But it's just the act of actually, you know, doing it that really can be hard for people at times. Internally, what you feel on the inside, how you perceive yourself, is someone who can take action. You have the Knight of Swords right side up. The Knight of Swords right side up is a card that represents, you know, action. It represents that sort of mental strength that, you know what it is that you have to do. You know what it is to approach that. You know how to sort of, you know, what it is that will make you happy. You're aware of that, and you know how to take action. Whether or not that action will be taken, you just know what it is. The way people perceive you, though, the way that you come off to others is the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords, right side up, again, is a card of transitions. It's a card of moving on. That, you know, you're getting yourself out of one situation and moving to another. Maybe that situation that you were in was dangerous. Thank you for reminding me to take a drink. But in taking that position and taking that movement, it's sort of, people sort of see that you're moving on to different things. Or maybe people see that you are getting yourself out of a situation that you shouldn't be in. Or are doing things, or just, you're changing, essentially. That there's a change in you that people are sort of perceiving and are aware of, or maybe a change that you should be making. Hopes and fears. We have card 9 here, is the Queen of Swords right side up. Surprisingly, almost every card in this thing was right side up. But the Queen of Swords here is interesting because, again, we've talked about how queens can represent people or concepts, and the Queen of Swords very much is it represents a concept of challenge, right? It's this thing that in your head there is something challenging you, there is someone goading you into some kind of fight, whether it's like a direct fight or like some kind of mental battle that you're facing. But it could also mean someone, like a female figure in your life that you are worried about, that is also someone who seems like daunting to face. So that's the two ways I could interpret it, that you feel like there is, it's me going bet. So that's sort of like where the hopes and fears lies, that, you know, you don't know what it is, or that there's a challenge that's facing you, and it's looking you straight ahead, and you have to sort of make the decision on how you want to approach that challenge. And the final outcome for your happiness is, it's a lot of work, what it is. And sometimes being happy is hard. Sometimes it is very hard to find that happiness. But we have the Ten of Wands as the final card here. And the Ten of Wands, some quirky, funny stuff after seeing, of course, feel free to. My DMs are open. But the Ten of Wands here at the end represents the idea of, you know, carrying a kind of burden, right? Holding on to things and feeling like you have to do a lot of work to keep things in place. And I think what this means in regards to happiness is, I'm gonna say it's just cards. So it's sort of that, you know, it's gonna be a lot of work to sort of feel like you finally are satisfied with yourself, but I think it will come to, like, because again, the tens also represent the end of a journey. But I think once it is that you put in the work, or finally are able to sort of carry all the things that you need to carry towards that happiness, I think you will be able to be more at peace with yourself. Not even just, don't try it. And just try not to, yeah, of course. And I think it's really important to be able to not bottle things in much. And whether you talk to me or whether you talk to other people that you can trust, I think it's important to find someone that you can talk to. Even if they can't help you as much, I think sometimes just getting things off of your chest is a very important thing to be able to do. And now lastly, we have Mero, who I will give a medium reading to, asking if should put some more distance between her and... So, we'll see. We'll see what the cards have to say. Get her image, and we will be doing our last reading. Alright, so... Mero. There we go. And the cube. Not doing the cube. I'm refunding that. I'm refunding the cube or doing it at the start of the next stream. I'm sorry. I'm not cubing it up right now. Remove. Executive decision to say no to the cube. Alright. So a medium reading on distance. It's alright. It's I forget to turn some redeems off because, like, you know, some redeems just don't fit the mood of the stream as much as other streams. Like, if I'm playing, like, a regular game, then yeah, I'll boot up the cube, but, like, not during a tarot stream. Even cube, don't say those words to me. How dare you write those words in my chat? Anyway. So, let's do this 6-card reading. If Mero should put some distance. Let's see, the past says... this here. It says with the past that there is the High Priestess in reverse. And the High Priestess in reverse, again, is a card that represents, you know, clarity, insight, intuition, and seeing that in reverse here in the past means that you might have made decisions recently that feel like, or things might have happened in the past that left you feeling in the dark, that you felt like things were happening and you just didn't know that they were happening. You felt very unaware, like there was a lack of clarity going on. Present, though, what we have in the present is the sun. And the sun is a very interesting card. It's a card that represents, you know, happiness, celebration, sort of finding fulfillment. So what it tells me is that however you've been dealing with whatever's happened in the past has been good for you. That whatever it is that you've done, whatever actions you've taken so far, to keep on taking them, to sort of just, you know, if things are bright right now as they are, if you think that the way that you've approached these situations are good, you know, maybe the space that you've kept between people now, if it's been satisfactory to you right now, that maybe that is the distance that you should keep between them, or maybe that, you know, in the near future you might settle on some sort of way, some sort of like distance between them that'll keep you happy. But it seems like, you know, despite this lack of clarity in the past, that there is a bright road ahead, that, you know, it might be whatever it is that is causing you to put distance between you and these other people, that you might find the right happy medium to keep yourself at in the future, whether that, you know, whether it's at arm's length or even further. And what we have for the future is 5 of Cups in reverse. We've seen this already before. You just worry about next, right? So you're fine now, but you just worry about next. Let's see. That lines up with the sun as well, that things are going good right now. Things are alright right now. But the future shows us the 5 of Cups in reverse. So right side up, the 5 of Cups typically represents, you know, regrets and feeling that, you know, you didn't make the right decision. But in reverse, it sort of shows that you're looking on the brighter side of things, right? That, you know, that keeping distance might have been that maybe like the reason why you kept distance between people, like it sucked, but you can see like what good it'll do to do so, to keep distance, you know? That you're not gonna dwell on how bad things were, maybe, if, you know, the reason why you're putting distance between other people is because it was bad, but it's sort of that you're able to look on the brighter side of things, that you're able to sort of move on with yourself, and that, you know, it's not necessarily a negative thing, that you're more at ease with what's happened. And sort of clarify, let's look at the inspirations, look at the influence here. So the High Priestess is being crossed by the Page of Wands. I have seen this guy at least 6 times today. And this is right side up. So again, the Page of Wands being right side up, crossing here, it's this idea that, you know, there was uncertainty in the past, and that uncertainty was caused by, you know, you feeling confident about yourself. Maybe your confidence had been shattered by something. Maybe there was something that you felt you were certain about, but then something happened to bring that uncertainty to you, that, you know, you had this like sort of energy, you had this like feeling, also I didn't name here, but maybe something had sort of cracked that sort of expectation and has sort of left you into that confusion. The Present card, the happiness that we were grounded, yeah. He needs to get that drank on at least 5 people. The influence on the present was the Judgment. Not the Judgment, it's just Judgment. Letter J. So Judgment was the influence here. And Judgment is just that, you know, that idea that you made this decision, and it was a hard decision that you had to make, you know. It was a direct, straight-up decision, but making that decision, making that hard choice that you made, is sort of what allowed you to be more at ease with yourself, be a little bit happier, be alright now, you know? That things left you in the dark, but now you're feeling a lot more, you know, a lot more confident because of this decision. And then we have, as the last card here, in the future, we have 8 of Wands in reverse. So, you know, looking on the bright side of the things, you're able to look on the bright side of things, but, you know, there's still something nagging at you, it feels, that, you know, moving on from this, that you're not sure really where it is now to sort of channel your power, to channel your energy, that while you're able to turn around and sort of look on the brighter side of things, that you still feel the sense of hesitation and uncertainty, that you don't know really how it is that you should be directing this energy of yours. Maybe it's a newfound energy, but because, you know, there's like uncertainty and distance that you're putting between other people, you're not sure really is how you want to manifest that energy. So overall, it seems that by putting distance between yourself and others, it seems like it's helping you out a bit, but there's just the sense of future uncertainty that, you know, you're not sure how it is that you want to approach this, but you're able to look on the brighter side of things regardless. So that's my reading for you, Mero. I hope it helps. And I think that's it. I think now we should look for someone to raid. Yeah, yeah, so that's it for today, actually. So I actually have a busy week. I mentioned this on Twitter, I retweeted it, but tomorrow I'm going to be doing live, obviously. I've been doing that every Monday, but I have some things coming up that I might as well just talk about the schedule. So the big things that are coming up is that on Friday, I'm going to be part of a recital at Evie's channel. I've been taking vocal lessons for the summer, and the project that I've been working on through the vocal lessons is going to be finally unveiled on Friday. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be streaming before that and raid into Evie on that Friday. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be part of a giant Yu-Gi-Oh! Collab with Kongo over at his channel, where we're all going to be role-playing as Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists. So that's going to be fun, and I'm really excited for that. But thank you guys all for hanging around. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the readings, And I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. But let's see, who am I gonna raid into? Let's go and, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Yeah, your points. I will refund them after the stream. But we're gonna raid into Shanaha because I almost never see this man live, and he's speedrunning Super Mario 64, and I just love Shanaha so much. Oh, I love this cat like you wouldn't believe. So let's go and raid Shanaha VT. He's speedrunning Super Mario 64, and he's always on like a gorilla grind. So let's go and give him a visit. What? Raid Shanaha VT. So have a good rest of your day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow with some Live Alive. And for now, class is dismissed.